talkSPORT Sports Update, powered by the Nissan van range. Scoring a winning hat-trick of performance, payload and price. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van Centre.
With your headlines, it's just coming up to 3 minutes past 10. I'm Nick Ellaby. Good morning. With Michael Carrick now seemingly the front runner to become Man United's new interim, our chief football correspondent Alex Crook says it makes sense when people forget Solskjaer's last run as caretaker ended badly.
When you look at Michael Carrick, he only had 3 games in interim charge, but he won 2 of them. He got United into the knockout stages of the Champions League. He beat Arsenal at home. Then he went to Middlesbrough, Jeff. They were 21st in the table when he took over, ended up finishing 4th and making the playoffs.
We understand the outgoing interim Darren Fletcher could stay on as an assistant. Macclesfield captain Paul Dawson's told us they knew Palace were beatable when Mark Gay said he didn't fancy their pitch. We asked Dawson who the non-league giant killers want in the FA Cup's 4th round.
Well, we beat the holders, so we can beat anyone now.
Great, mate.
Probably Liverpool away, I think probably Liverpool away. We've got a lot of Scousers in the team, so they'd love that as well, I think.
Liverpool will have to beat Barnsley first. That's live on talkSPORT tonight. The 4th round draw is live on talkSPORT Drive before that. Now, Ali McCoist reckons Craig Gordon's reflex save for Hearts was up there with Gordon Banks in 1970.
It's an absolutely tremendous save, and they were down to 10 men.
Yeah, no, it was a brilliant save. Will he go to the World Cup? 43?
I think he might, you know. Why not?
Thanks to Gordon, Hearts stay 3 points clear at the top of the Premiership. And last year's Super Bowl champions have been beaten in the playoffs. talkSPORT's Will Gavin was on fine form.
Eric Kendricks does it! Eric Kendricks, who has been sensational today for the San Francisco 49ers, ends the Philadelphia Eagles season.
49ers join the Bills and the Patriots in this weekend's divisional games. Pittsburgh Steelers host the Houston Texans in the final playoff, live on talkSPORT 2 tonight.
talkSPORT News.
The UK's biggest police force says London has recorded its lowest homicide rate in more than a decade, and tens of thousands in the southeast are without water again. More from the news team at past.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit, your go-to destination for quality tyres from great brands like Continental. Visit your local centre or quickfit.com and book today.
Mix of sunshine and showers for most of us. Parts of the northwest getting more persistent rain. Across the north, windy with coastal gales. Feeling milder everywhere.
Good morning, everybody. You're listening to Jim White, Simon Jordan and Martin Keown, and we are live on talkSPORT. So Holders Crystal Palace are beaten at Macclesfield, while Manchester City hit Exeter for 10. Have we seen the beauty and the beast of the FA Cup this weekend? Meanwhile, would Michael Carrick be a step up on Solskjaer, or is it all much of a muchness? Also today, what is a serious football club, and is Tottenham Hotspur won? Has it been a redemptive few days for villain of the piece Martinelli? Do we have a 3-way title race up in Scotland? What next for Dalton Smith? And lads on tour. Do the cricketers really need a curfew? Jim White, Simon Jordan, Martin Keown, and we are live on talkSPORT.
100% engagement.
Jim White and Simon Jordan on talkSPORT.
Now then, it's all about trains this morning. Arsenal Invincible, Martin Keown. As far as I gather, you were messaging producer Luke from quite a challenging train journey in from Oxford this morning. What happened?
Yeah, well, anybody else that was on the 753 from Oxford will know what I'm talking about. I've never seen anything like it, down to five carriages. I was actually in the toilet. If you were claustrophobic, you wouldn't have had a chance. So I limped to Reading and got the hell out of there, as did a load of others. So please, can we, Keir Starmer, if you're listening, nationalisation of the railways, get it sorted. It's gone backwards.
Oh, yeah, because they were so much better then, weren't they?
My goodness me, Martin, what a challenging trip.
Yes,
I'm just back from a Eurostar journey to Amsterdam.
This will help me today.
I didn't bargain going via Lille, Brussels and Rotterdam. It's quite a long way. But would you believe it, Simon? I had a number of people come up to me in Amsterdam saying, love the show and love Mr. Jordan. Okay. I cannot believe it. Our reach is far and wide. But Amsterdam, what a great city, isn't it?
Yeah.
Lovely people, the laid-back Dutch.
Did you buy any clogs?
I did not buy clogs.
Stereotypical? Is that sort of gender? Is that not gender? It's cultural appropriation.
Well, yes, I think it is.
How long did it take you to get there by just
about 4 hours?
Okay, that's good.
Yeah. It's a long way, but it's worth it. Even though it was 4 or 5 below zero each day.
The provocation I suffered on the train today in my journey could come in handy for some of the topics we're going to cover later.
Provocation.
Yeah, a little bit of provocation. Somebody asked them to move out of the way, and the next thing he jumped into my face, wanting to have a bit of trouble. But I just walked on by. But it makes me understand a little bit how the Spurs players thought a little bit of provocation that they.
You could never have bargained for Van Nistelrooy being the same train journey.
No, it wasn't him. That's for sure.
I mean, my God, Martin.
Guy's bag was blocking the escalator road and just wouldn't get out of the way. But anyway.
Well, we're pleased to see you.
Yeah.
And all the. I mean,
Simon didn't have any of these issues in the.
Well, he's had an issue. He's just murmured to me that your place in Spain is flooded, which I find very amusing. What's happened?
Just the common parts is not my thought. The insurance company are going to be poning up a lot of money, and I shall get
rain in Spain.
I shall get my entire place painted if I have my way.
Oh boy! Well, we're all here today, and we're all getting on with it. The FA Cup weekend. What a story that was! So many headlines coming out of it. Have we seen the beauty and the beast of the FA Cup this weekend? I mean, Martin, the beauty. Non-league Macclesfield knocked out the holders Crystal Palace.
Incredible.
Sorry, Simon. 2-1. I mean, Macclesfield ranked 117 places below Palace, meaning that this was indeed the biggest upset in the competition of all time in terms of league places. You know, well done the Macclesfield boys, but if you were in that starting 11 of Palace, you're always going to be remembered for that, aren't you?
Well, they won it last year. No one can take that away, but you also don't want this on your record, on your CV, to have gone out to a team in level 6. You know, it was quite remarkable. It had a strange feel to it. I felt in the opening exchange, it didn't feel like it was going to be a major upset, but Palace just didn't seem to change gear. They didn't understand where they were. Jim, you have to sense these things as a player and try and dig yourself out of it. But credit to Macclesfield. The goal they score, was it Dawson who scores the goal with a bandage on his head? It was almost comical. Do you know?
Yeah.
But maybe they should keep that bandage and write on it, you know, what a great, and get that signed by all the players because it was an amazing day.
Oh, Marv, were you ever on the end of something similar?
No, but nearly. And it was like you just have to wake up, you know, a moment in time and the whole thing is against you. It's as if the weather changes just for the FA Cup. You know, sleety rain, frosty pitch.
Yeah.
All the conditions, AstroTurf pitch that they were playing on, but Palace couldn't put it together.
Yeah, it's a great story for local businessman Robert Smethurst.
Yeah.
Because he bought the club's assets and with former player Robbie Savage joining the board, they were reformed as a Phoenix club. 146 years of history consigned to the history books when Macclesfield Town ceased training in 2020. It is a great story. This was Robert Smethurst who was speaking on the Sunday edition yesterday.
Yeah, do you know what? When I bought the club, you know, I wanted to do something special. You know, obviously the club had gone into receivership. You know, I had a great opportunity and lucky enough that I sold my business and I wanted to do something good. And, you know, I wanted to put Macclesfield back on the map. And, you know, obviously I bought it on Rightmove. But, you know, it is all about the community. It's about the fan base. You know, we've built something really special there. There's nearly 3,500, 4,000 fans come to each game, you know, Tuesday night, Saturdays. You know, and the emphasis is on really just giving back and making sure that, you know, that they really enjoy it. You know, you see the, you know, the faces and the community spirit that you see, you know, week in, week out. And I think, you know, that's what non-league football is about. It's about, you know, seeing those people on a Saturday really enjoying themselves and getting that community spirit going.
Simon, he bought it on Rightmove and he wanted to put the club back in the map. It's a great story, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I spoke to Robbie Savage a couple of years ago about it and his relationship with this fellow. So listen, it's a great outcome for them. There's no excuses for Crystal Palace. It's poor. Their manager summed it up at the end of the game. He didn't leave any doubts in people's mind as to what he thought of his own team's performance. He thought it was appalling. Didn't even create a chance. And it's a poor defensive in the FA Cup. As Martin says, you can't take away anything from Crystal Palace. They're the 2025 FA Cup winners, beat Man City. But disappointing. What I hope for Macclesfield is they get a really good draw. They get a big away draw against one of the big sides and don't draw someone like Mansfield or something where they get 2 and 6. So I hope that they go and profit from it. They've done remarkably well. If you don't turn up in football matches, it doesn't matter what level you're at, you're going to find yourself in a difficult position, and Palace didn't turn up.
They're still 2 promotions away from the Football League. Just to put this into context, it's really quite remarkable. I mean, as a club, since the liquidation, they've got 3 promotions. So they've gone on this journey. But this will probably be their finest ever out.
And you've seen this before. I mean, we saw this when Wimbledon departed, when I booted them out all those years ago, and they went up to MK Dons, and then they reformed themselves as a football club again and came back through the pyramid. Yeah. Momentum is a great thing, but there is no excuse for those players. I feel sorry for the Palace fans that have travelled up to that part of the world and been embarrassed. I'm pleased for Macclesfield. I don't think anyone should be mealy-mouthed about it. Palace's performance is to Macclesfield's credit. They were ready for a game. They had all the disadvantage of playing against a Premier League side. There might have been changes, but there were some big players on that field. Premier League footballers have got lots of noise about what they want, what they're entitled to, when they should get this and when they should get that. You've got to go and win games like this, if not anything for your own pride, but also for the supporters that you play for, because now Palace have the indignation that Wolverhampton Wanderers had in 1909, which has been knocked out as the FA Cup holders by then non-league side Crystal Palace.
Yeah,
I mean, they're not even full-time, Jim.
No, it's a brilliant story, and that is the beauty. This has to be the beast. Exeter thumped 10-1 by Manchester City. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm interested in this, Simon. I'm interested that you're taking this. Exeter's plea for more FA Cup money from City was turned down. The Exeter City Supporters Trust, who own the League One club, called on City to give a greater share of the gate receipts from their third round FA Cup tie. The club this week revealed they'd asked the Premier League club for a greater proportion of the gate receipts as a quote, statement of solidarity. Would they be deserving of it?
Not particularly, no. I mean, if they're happy to make themselves a charity case, that's up to them. If it were at their game, if it were at their ground, I could see the arguments. In this instance, they're already getting 250 to 350,000 out of this game, so they've done quite nicely out of it.
Right.
So I don't really think, and I think if you set these sort of precedents, do you want these big clubs playing in the FA Cup? Because we know it's getting diminished by other tournaments that are seemingly having more priority. And I know that at the beginning of the cycle, it's not that big a deal to them, and 350 grand makes no difference to Man City. It falls out of their pocket on the way to the game. But that's not the point. You set precedents. And I do think it's not the right move. I mean, I know other clubs have done it previously. I've done it previously. I've given away gate receipts. And I know that other clubs have done it as well. But that tends to be at much smaller levels. And if you've got
You've done it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought you didn't believe in charitable socialism.
No, I do. I think there's times and places to do everything. I think it's about balance. Chelsea did it for me once. That's why I'm so fond of Trevor Birch. Trevor Birch did it for me when Chelsea played us in a pre-season friendly. He went, look, you're a championship club. We don't need this dough. You take all the money out of the gate receipts. But it was at Selhurst Park. And if it was at Stamford Bridge, I would have not asked for it. If it was at Exeter's ground, St James's Park, whatever that's called, I would have expected them to ask. I think it is, isn't it? St James?
Are they wrong to ask, Simon? If it's offered, fair enough, but to ask for it.
Well, if you don't ask, you don't get.
Exactly.
But I mean, there's this big thing about football clubs having pride in themselves. We listened to the Strasbourg fans complaining about the fact that Blue Cove spent tens of millions of pounds on transfers from them during the summer, but taking a manager that they introduced because they're losing their identity. They don't like to be made to feel like second-class citizens. Or Exeter are quite happy to put their hands up and say, we are second-class citizens.
Yes. Yeah, not bad, Simon. A lot to get through this morning. So much for the beauty and the beast of the FA Cup. But what about Manchester United? What about Manchester United? No Amorim, but it's the same old Manchester United. What the heck is going on there? It's Jim White, Simon Jordan, Martin Keown, alive and well on talkSPORT this Monday morning. Good morning, everybody. Monday, January the 12th. It's Jim White, Simon Jordan, and Martin Keown. We're live on talkSPORT, coming to you live on your TV as well, wherever you want to watch us, even in Prime Video. You can watch us live on your telly, and many people are doing just that. On my way back from Amsterdam in the Eurostar yesterday, I was keeping across the events at Old Trafford. Manchester United up against Brighton in the FA Cup. Brighton leading the way and looking good for the win, and they got the win. Brighton got the win. So in his 2 games in charge of Manchester United, it hasn't gone all that well for the interim coach, Darren Fletcher. A draw the other night against Burnley, and now in the FA Cup, kicked out of the tournament by Brighton. Well done, Brighton. It was one of Manchester United's old boys, Danny Welbeck, who scored at Old Trafford again to help Brighton dump United out of the FA Cup. And Darren Fletcher, post-match, very much pointed the fingers at these unachieving players.
You know, difficult times, true character is going to show. So they have to dig in, show they want to be part of Manchester United's future, learn from this. And ultimately, if you're not, then I don't think you should be here or will be here. It sounds strong, but that's just the reality and the way it should be.
The underachieving Manchester United players, and Fletcher is saying it's up to you. If you lot want a future at this football club, you're going to have to show that you want a future at this football club. Martin, what's your take in regards what he's saying? Is he right? Are they playing for their futures now? It's serious now, isn't it?
It's always been serious when you're a Manchester United player. Such have been the standards that have been set in the past. And, you know, obviously Darren's been a part of that. He wants that for the future. This interim is a bit puzzling. Clearly, the last manager was, you know, sacked in a panic fashion, and there wasn't a planning act in place. the results since have not been good enough, and you would. I mean, Darren obviously credentials as a manager. That's not his role at the club, really. He's just sitting in the chair.
Before the next interim manager.
I was at the Arsenal game yesterday. I was travelling back. I just saw the end. I saw the highlights. I saw Danny Welbeck, a player from almost yesteryear, being, head and shoulders above any other Man United player on the pitch, scoring a wonderful goal. And to go 2-0 down at home in the FA Cup, only 40 games, by the way, left. Well, there'll be 40 games in total they'll play this season, so there's no issues with workload, Jim. You'll be pleased to hear about player welfare. So these are difficult times for the club. They've got to pull together. They've got to try and find a manager now, Jim, who can pull them out of this mess.
I mean, it is a mess. There's a funny message from a friend of ours, Simon. I'll tell you who it is in the break. First it was Grimsby, then it was Brighton. I guess you could say the Seagulls were following the trawler.
Mm-hmm.
He's not wrong. He's not wrong. I mean, this is what is going on with Manchester United. As Martin says, no player welfare argument in this particular season. United have only 17 matches remaining in this season that will contain only 40 games. Their shortest since 1914-15.
Yeah, well, that's the byproduct of their lack of attainment on the field, isn't it? I mean, the bottom line is they've been poor again this season. There's been green shoots of revival in terms of we saw them coming back up the table. I don't see them breaking into the top four, despite the protestations that Darren Fletcher makes about the idea that that's their cups this season, getting into the top four. I'll be curious to see who he thinks is going to drop out, because Villa are 11 points in front of Manchester United, and Liverpool have regained some poise. Look, I think it's a poor version of Man United. It's the sort of 1970s Jimmy Greenhoff, Brian Greenhoff, Stuart Pearson sort of era, Sammy McAvoy sort of era, where they're just treading water. They're not operating at the level that one assumes that Man United are capable of and spent towards. And they've got to change direction again with another manager. How they do that, there's normally a bounce. And there's normally a bounce when a new manager comes in. You've got the Ruud van Nistelrooy bounce last year that got him the job at Leicester. You've seen positions when Ole Gunnar Solskjaer went in there and was what I called the unavoidable mistake at the time when they beat PSG in that Champions League game. But they've had no bounce as a result of Darren Fletcher going in there, because the players aren't capable of it. It doesn't matter about systems. This is what Amorim was saying, systems, schmistems. At the end of the day, players have got to play. So you change the system away from this dreaded 3 at the back and take it to a 4. They're lucky to get a result at Burnley. They get beat by a very decent Brighton side. Let's not lose sight of the fact that Brighton are not slobs.
True.
So going up there. But in isolation, this is a disaster of a season for Manchester United. I don't like to catastrophise things and turn things into chaotic language that we like to use for the moment. But this was a rebuild season. You've now lost a manager that you've wasted a year with because he can't deal with the ramifications of the situation he finds himself in. You've now got knocked out of the League Cup by a minnow. You're now out of the FA Cup. You've got nothing to play for this season, really, besides a degree of face-saving, and you're a mile off and rudderless.
And we await the appointment of the next interim to replace the interim.
Well,
So is Michael Carrick a step up on Ole if it ends up that way?
I don't know. I mean, my understanding is Michael Carrick doesn't particularly want to be a manager. He wants to be a number 2, a coach. So I'm assuming this is only ever going to be an interim and not necessarily a full-time employment. He does a decent job at Middlesbrough. He was a bit unlucky there, wasn't he? I mean, look, I think it lacks vision. The Ole Gunnar, put aside my bias towards Ole Gunnar Solskjaer not being good enough, and look at it from the optics of, and I hate that expression, but just do it for the time being, of taking somebody back that you binned. It shows no innovation. And now the fact that they've lost Amorim shows a different side of the coin. But to bring somebody back that was deemed not good enough, that you paid £10 million to shuffle out the door as a broken man, and you can't even think of someone new to get you past the hump of holding it together while you make a more considered decision, shows a lack of, not so much introspection, but a lack of innovation. Of the two, I would probably, and people won't be surprised to hear, I'd probably go with Carrick. I would have got...
Why?
Because I think that Carrick is a fresh face. Ultimately at Man United, he wasn't given the job and shuffled out the door like he was, like a broken man, like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was. But I mean, again, I make the point. I know this will never happen because Man United have gone all corporate. But I would have put someone like Roy Keane in to shake it up. But then I suppose that's like suggesting you put Liam Gallagher as a front man to take that. It doesn't work, does it? It's not going to happen because Keane will go in and cause mayhem, I suspect. But it needs a bit of that. It needs a bit of, not so much navel gazing, it needs a bit of livening up in there because there's too much going on behind the scenes and too many people getting away with doing too little.
If it's Michael Carrick, and I'll put this out to Manchester United fans this morning, if it ends up being Michael Carrick, is that going to be a step up on Ole? Or are there Manchester United fans out there who are bemused as I am that an interim is about to replace the interim? But would you rather have Ole instead of Carrick? I mean, where are they at, Martin? Is it all much of a muchness here, what they do?
Do you know, you look at it, director of football, you look at the people running the football club. We're hearing Roy Keane saying, Sir Alex Ferguson's like a bad smell, and I think that's unnecessary. I think that's a bit over the top.
Contextually, come on. He said it in conjunction with David Gill and Alex Ferguson being very busy about their involvement inside the football club back in the day, as well as potentially now. He said it in context. He wasn't just throwing it out there. It was a clumsy expression.
We love Roy. But I don't. Sir Matt Busby was in and around the football club for Sir Alex Ferguson. It wasn't a problem. If you've got a problem with previous successes,
well, it was a problem for Frank.
I think you're insecure in the building if you can't embrace the past of the football club, and that's where they need to lean to. That's where they are right now, trying to get people in that they can trust.
If it's between Ollie and Carrick, Martin, who should they go for?
I think Carrick probably. I think he showed some good signs that when he was at Middlesbrough, they got close to the playoff. I know he finished 7th, but there's a football club that's progressed, I think, under his tenure. So I still think the job's too big for him in terms of like long term, but short term, yes, I think he's probably going to do a better job than the current.
Martin mentioned Roy Keane. We're going to get to that the other side of 10:30. Asked about the Amorim sacking and who next for the club, Keane said, "Well, what happens in these job interviews? I'm intrigued. Why do they keep giving certain people a job? What happens in the interview? And 12, 14 months later, they say he's not the guy for us." You see who's making the decisions at United. You still have Ferguson and Gill hanging about like a bad smell. Who makes the decisions? Ratcliffe? Wilcox? Who? And who is next? Who's the interim to replace the interim? Is it Ollie? Is it Carrick? What is it? You tell us. 03717 22 3344 810 89 at 10:30.
We're expecting Man United to make a call on their new interim manager today. Michael Carrick has emerged as favourite over Solskjaer, and Man United correspondent at The Sun, Sam Luckhurst, says Amorim's unexpected falling out with director Jason Wilcox led to the club going for another former player as caretaker.
Which is a concept that I think quite a lot of United supporters don't care for. They're not supportive of it. they feel as though the hierarchy are probably the ones to blame.
Macclesfield captain Paul Dawson has told us a pre-match chat with Mark Gahey gave him faith that Palace were beatable.
Pitch all right for you, said, no, not a bit of me, this. That moment on, I thought, you know what, there's something here for us. So, yeah, it was, I went back in, told the lads, and, yeah, we was up for it.
Well, the non-leaguers will find out their fourth-round opponents later. Now, save of the season from Hearts' Craig Gordon, or was it better than that?
You could get carried away, and I'm getting carried away, but it's a kind of similar to one to Banks' header from Jorginho, you know, I mean, which is one of the greatest saves we've seen of all time. It's similar, opposite side. He goes down and plucks out with his left hand. It's an absolutely tremendous save.
Ali McCoy says the 43-year-old Gordon could well make Scotland's World Cup squad. Hearts hung on for the win at Dundee to stay 3 points clear at the top of the Scottish Premiership.
Good morning, everybody. Monday morning, January the 12th. It's Jim White, Simon Jordan and Martin Keown. We are live in talkSPORT. Thanks for all the messages and the texts that are coming into the show, even at this early stage. Honestly, the show is nothing without your interaction with us, and that's what we are about every morning between 10 and 1 live in talkSPORT. We're talking Manchester United. Is it really the case that we await the next interim? After this interim, Darren Fletcher has vacated the hot seat. Because, it's reported it's between Michael Carrick and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. The next interim. After the interim in charge at the moment, Darren Fletcher leaves. We've kind of been in this movie before. Is history repeating itself at Old Trafford? 21-22 season, Manchester United appointed, do you remember him? Ralph Rangnick on interim charge following the sacking of Solskjaer. And their season was all but over at the start of 2022 following a Champions League exit. It led to the then interim Rangnick to suggest that United as a club needed open heart surgery.
It's crystal clear. It's not that difficult. You don't even need glasses to analyze and to see where the problems are. So now it's only about how do we solve them. And for me, it's clear. It's not enough to do some little minor amendments, some little issues here and there, some minor cosmetic things. No, this is, in medicine, you would see this is an operation at the open heart.
So 4 years on, a new look boardroom. Simon, why does it feel like they've come full circle here?
Well, I was never understanding exactly what he meant, because it's very easy to throw out these massive platitudes without some detail on the granulation going back downwards. Have they bought bad players? Is the culture of the boardroom? What was he talking about? Because he certainly didn't make it better, did he? His contribution wasn't to make it better. I expected more from him in the job that he did, and obviously he was given some glowing endorsement by Klopp about how he was this role model and ultimate. He was a student of Ralph Rangnick to some extent. So I don't know what he was referring to. The problem with Man United is that, first of all, Manchester United do not operate in a vacuum. Other clubs are very powerful, and the Premier League has gotten stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger, and more clubs are able to compete in it. But the descent and decline of Man United are things that he could have perhaps handled better and done in bite-sized chunks, so he didn't get this perspective of the curmudgeon outlook that he's got. But the money that they spend, the managers that they recruit, the decisions that they make, it's difficult not to criticise them. It's difficult not to criticise the handling of the Ten Hag situation. Not just the fact they were entitled to have a review, because they were. They didn't employ him, but they didn't just have a review. They gave him a new contract and then fired him 3 months later, which everyone knew they were going to do. The Brailsford situation, whether he's good at cycling, and I don't believe that people can't translate between sports, doesn't mean that he's going to be a fascinating force inside football. It didn't work for Clive Woodward. I have had people involved in other sports I've been involved in, and seen that they can be useful. But in this instance, it didn't work. The pursuit of Dan Ashworth. These are embarrassing and silly mistakes. And in the Ruben Amorim situation, I mean, you can't legislate to some extent for the combustibility of some of these young, silly managers and their unprofessional behaviour. Both him and Maresca were childlike and unprofessional in their reactions to circumstances and situations and the way that they wanted to handle them. Amorim's probably to get himself a payout because he didn't want to be there anymore because the job was bigger than he anticipated, and Maresca because he's a child and probably thought he could get something out of the situation like a job at Manchester City. But all of those things are should be dealable, and if you've got the ability to spend the kind of money that they have, you really should have the kind of understanding of what you're doing, which they don't seem to have. I'm not worried about whether Darren Fletcher's taken 2 games. I'm not worried about the soundbite of an interim placing an interim. They had to deal with Amorim. So they dealt with him. They had to fill the dugout for 2 games that were coming up pretty quickly while they selected another manager to come through the process to hold this season together. So they had to do that. So they laughed.
Yeah, but Simon, an interim for an interim.
Yeah, but
they're writing the season off, aren't they?
Well, but the season is written off. What were they going to achieve anyway? The only thing they had left to win in the competition was FA Cup, and it isn't a given that.
Well, they've got to get themselves in the Champions League. They should have stayed in the FA Cup yesterday, but a very good Brighton side put them
with
out.
respect, how many people prior to this situation actually tipped Man United to be in the Champions League? We can catastrophise it now, but I'm willing to wager you that 90% of the pundits and people observing on Man United were not tipping Man United to be in the Champions League spots this year.
I think with no Europe, a lot of people would have suggested you've got a chance here. You've got so little football going on this season.
What, based upon a team that was absolutely crap last year, that finished 17th, were dreadful in a Europa League final, I think most people felt that Amorim was going to be in trouble and sacked at some point. They didn't see it coming that he was going to bring it upon himself and start shouting and screaming about wanting to be a manager because something else was going on behind the scenes. But no one's surprised at United. United are 7th in the table. The team on the field are probably doing what a lot of people expected them to do.
3 points off 4th.
Yeah. But the fourth side happened to be Liverpool.
They've got to get Champions League.
They won 8 games of football.
They've screwed up everything else.
Won 8 games of football in 21 matches. Okay, look, the way I see it right now, it's been obviously years of mismanagement. If you look at Rashford winning last night against Real Madrid, you look at the 2 boys who've gone to Napoli. I mean, McTominay now is absolutely... This is a poor judgment.
Yeah.
Even the centre forward is looking like a great player. Couldn't play for Manchester United. So does that not reflect on the managers that they're actually bringing? The managers key to all of this. They've got a wingless Manchester United last night. They're playing Cunha and Mount in wide positions. Well, anyone who could play out on the wing isn't being good enough. Anyone who's got any ability with the last manager or kind of individualism was shown the door. So at the moment now, they've not got enough quality, not got enough talent. They've got enough players to actually win them the game. So that obviously recruitment, it will come down to recruitment. And that has to be where the director of football has to be top level. And he has to be in line with whoever the new manager is.
But hang on. I mean, that sounds great. But you've recruited players like Cunha that are already known to be very difficult players. So it isn't just a case of it's players like Rashford needed to be drop kicked out of Man United, and they were asking for it for a long time, and they got thoroughly what they deserved, and they've gone off to play for Barcelona, fortunate to get that gig and probably lifting a leg because the World Cup's coming up.
So Sancho goes off to Dortmund and ends up in the Champions League.
And Sancho's a pest. So look at the way he behaved.
But people can get a tune out of him. So why can't the Manchester United...
Chelsea didn't get a tune out of him.
Yeah, but things went wrong for him. He's still a great talent. He's doing well now at Villa, isn't he? There's a player there somewhere. Good managers can find quality in the player.
But we also know
they have their moment.
But we also know that once Villa turn from being a side that are grateful to be inside the top 4 and a side that really expects to be in there, you'll see the culture of how players perform in that environment change. There's an expectation at Man United, an expectation at Arsenal, an expectation at Chelsea, which is different at Liverpool and at Manchester City. It's different to most clubs because you have to hit the ground running. You have to be instantaneously on top of your game. There's no latitude for it. So when you talk about players that have gone out to other clubs, Sancho was poor. He was given an immense amount of dispensation by Ten Hag, and he reverted to type. He did what he did for England when he was a kid. He did and Dortmund indulged it.
Forget about the actual player and the man, and that you're being very critical of him. Think about what I need if I'm a 4-4-2 manager or a 4-3-3 manager. I need people that are in the building who can play and fulfil certain roles. The last manager has exited everybody out the door. So everyone, Cunha and Mount come to feet. They play like 10.
But there's a school of thought that says that they probably needed to. We've got Kobe Manu back in the side. What did he do yesterday? Big shout and scream for him. He hasn't been put in the side. But the manager's not a fool. Amorim probably saw the malaise inside this football club that we've been ruminating about for some time and started to do something about it.
Yeah. I don't think we're making enough, Simon, I've got to say, and you, Martin, I don't think we're honing in enough on where they're at. They're replacing an interim with an interim.
But that
is a laughable set of circumstances, no matter what.
But Jim, our manager went out and lost his mind in a press conference. Unless you've got one lined up instantaneously, right, you're going to have to go with what you've got in the building. So if we want to create this interim for an interim, United clearly
What's
don't.
it look like?
Well, it just means they put somebody in place to be able to find an appointment for the rest of the season. Now, that may well be, and it's been done before. When Chelsea did it, was it a laughing stock?
No,
when they brought someone in for 6 months.
They're doing it, and we're in January.
So what?
There's still a hell of a lot of the season to go.
Do you know what, Jim?
And the key time is the time they give out the prizes.
Where I do think
they're not going to win any prizes. What prizes are they going to win?
That's the point. Let's go back to the Roy Keane situation where he's saying, look, the questions they ask him. If you're the DNA of Manchester United is about attacking football, isn't it? Expressive, creative. The next man, they shouldn't have gone with a manager who wants to play a back three. It's too restrictive. Now, this manager's dumped out anyone who can play a different system. So they've got to rebuild. He's probably put them back a year, 18 months before they can actually rebuild. And they're going to have to spend an awful lot of money now to get back in really good colour.
Amarim's put them back a year.
I think he's put them back at least 12 months in trying to get rid of anyone who's creative in the final third.
Look, I mean, again, let's ask the question and all the so-called intellectual capital around observations. Who tipped Manchester United at the beginning of this season to finish inside the top four? And I would willing to wager you'll find a very short list. No, they're not good enough. Why would anyone think they're good enough?
They're 3 points behind
Jim,
at the moment.
They're 3 points.
They've got to do something.
They're 3 points behind Liverpool, who are the defending champions, who've had a bad patch. They've got themselves together again now. They're 11 points.
They've won a cup.
They're 11 points. Yes, but they lost to Grimsby. No, absolutely. It's a poor show. But what we're looking at is the reality of Man United rather than the ideal of what we think they should be. And they have to make another appointment. Darren Fletcher's got, because otherwise, who was going to run the side for a couple of games? Who was going to do it? Who's available for Man United to go and get? It's easy to say what people should do. Who are they going to go and get? Who's available out there for Man United to be able to go and get? They tried it last year. They tried it to go and get a manager out of a club in the mid-season. He didn't want to come, so he got forced into coming because United flexed their muscles and said, you come now or you don't come at all. And we see how that's played out. So Man United have got to do what most sensible people would do, is take stock of their situation, try and make the best of their circumstances in this season, and go again in 7 months' time.
Try and make the best of the circumstances.
Yeah, that's all they're ever going to do anyway.
Season. What a desperate situation this is. And we're talking about Manchester United, the biggest club, bar Real Madrid, in the world.
They've got a set.
And we're in January.
It's a club with a set of ideals, and they have to align those ideals with whoever the manager's going to be. And I'm talking about attacking play. I'm talking about how they behave themselves. And maybe this great club gets back to where it once was. At the moment, everyone is throwing mud at them. Everyone's achieved far more than the current group are. I think it's weighed heavily on this group. But ultimately, the previous manager, this fixation with this system of five at the back.
Let's put it out there. Prior to that, there was no fixation with the system of Ten Hag, and we annihilated him too.
Let's put it out there this morning, though. We're not out of January yet. We're not even in the middle of January yet. And already we're talking about this season being a write-off. Manchester United fans listening this morning, do you accept that this season is a write-off? That really no one expects you to do anything now. Out of both cup competitions, not even in Europe, and really you've got players there playing for pride. I mean, what is about to happen in this transfer window before the window shuts? Nothing. Is anyone going to come the way of Manchester United? Because you'll have an interim in who replaced the last interim. Can you believe we're talking in these terms? Is the season a write-off? You let us know. 03717 22 33 44. And who do you fancy? Let's toss a coin for it. Carrick or Ole? Who's next? Boy, oh boy, the calls are coming in from United fans. We'll get through as many as we can. It's Jim White, Simon Jordan and Martin Keown. We're live in talkSPORT with Selco, where the trade goes. So where are we at with Manchester United? Out the FA Cup. Well done, Brighton. News in Brighton coming up very shortly. But we now wait for the appointment of the next interim. Once this interim has gone, Darren Fletcher will exit the club. He'll vacate the position, and either, it is being reported, Michael Carrick or Ole Gunnar Solskjaer will take over from the outgoing Darren Fletcher. What's left this season? Well, as high a place in the Premier League as possible. That's what's left. Because there's no Europe for Manchester United. There's now no Carabao Cup, and there's certainly now no FA Cup after Brighton put them out in their own ground yesterday. So what next? Where are we at with Manchester United? Where on earth are Manchester United? James, a big United fan, good morning to you. I think you were there yesterday. What was your feeling, James, on full time?
Hi guys, how are you all? You well?
Good morning, thanks James. Yes, on you go.
Good morning. Look, it's United. It's been like this for the last 10 years. I've been supporting the club now for the last 15 years and been going to all the games, season ticket holder. And just picking up on a few points that you guys are talking about, I think first and foremost, we do want an interim. I think the whole fan base now realise, look, you can't just make an instant reaction in terms of bringing someone in just because the media, especially you, Jim, ask for us to obviously bring a manager in instantaneously. I think it's the most sensible thing to do. You look at the Premier League table, I think there's something like 6-7 points separating top 4 to 13th place. So ultimately, United can finish. We invested heavily, 260 million in the summer. So yeah, naturally, I believe we can finish in the top 4. But just to pick on a few points that Simon made about people like, kids like, Kobe Mainoo and so on and so forth. First and foremost, Kobe Mainoo hasn't even come out and said anything. Simon asks for these players to just go on and do their job and not say anything. He hasn't come out in the media and said anything. He hasn't gone on social media and said anything. Yes, his brother did something stupid. That's not his fault. But sometimes we sensationalise it in terms of the kid must not be training well, he must not be doing this. Well, sometimes it just as easy as a manager doesn't fancy a player. Mourinho back in the day didn't fancy De Bruyne or Salah, and look what they've gone on to do. Doesn't mean we're bad players or that we're misbehaving on the football pitch or, in terms of doing something silly. It's just simple as a manager doesn't fancy you, they don't fancy you. And I think Amrin came in, he made his stance, fair play, doesn't fancy Mainoo. So this whole sensationalising of he must be doing this in a training pitch. No, sometimes a manager just doesn't like a player. Simple as that. And you can't go from an England final or playing for Ten Hag and actually doing well, winning Young Player of the Year, doing all of that to suddenly being a bad player overnight. So, Simon, sometimes, come on, just give these players a break.
First and foremost, you have to listen to what the manager said rather than what I said, because the manager said he picks players based upon their performance on the training field. So you're making a supposition that he doesn't take a fancy to it. The analysis of what Mourinho did, Mourinho won things, so he had the latitude to make decisions, and also Mourinho was a manager that didn't invest in young players. What he did was he wanted a here and now player. So De Bruyne and Mo Salah were at the very, very beginning of their career. They weren't asking for huge contracts 5 minutes into their tenure as a Man United player. So it's not a case of whether the player has done it.
And who said Kobe Mainoo is asking for?
Yes, I agree with you. And neither one of us know. The rumor mill, and the two biggest commodities in football are gossip and money, was that the player was demanding a significant contract. So I take your point that the media might have amped that up, but I would imagine that most sensible managers, and I'm assuming that you thought Amorim was a sensible manager at one point, made a decision based upon what the player was showing him, rather than I don't like the fact that you don't look at me the right way.
He came out and said Mainoo was competing with Bruno. In anyone's mind, he's not going to take Bruno's place. Let's be clear, he's not. So that was just an excuse. He didn't fancy him as a player. Mourinho had.
Ask yourself why then. Ask yourself why.
Mourinho had all these young players. Mourinho had all these young players like he played in the Chelsea winning team. Ian Robin, all of these kids that he did play. He just didn't fancy Salah or De Bruyne. Doesn't mean he doesn't like young players. He played a lot of young players. Joe Cole was a very young player that he took on.
He signed Joe Cole.
Before you leave us, James, two questions for you. Number one, do you have faith in Barada and Wilcox to get this right?
Of course I do, but Barada was part of City's leadership team, and naturally he can't do it all on his own. Obviously, he's been in there 5 minutes. I think we give these guys time to show. I saw these banners yesterday flying around saying Sir Jim can't fix this. Well, again, we've invested 2.1 billion over the last 10 years in the club, and I think the Glazers have. And I'm not one to keep shouting for owners to go out the club. Naturally, things have gone wrong. The leadership team hasn't been good enough. But these guys have been here 18 months, 2 years. Give them time to find. We need world-class manager in place now. People like Luis Enrique, people like, Ancelotti, maybe someone that can come in, steady the ship, actually go back to our traditions and actually start winning things. And I think you just can't expect things overnight. But we do expect to finish in the top 4 because the Premier League, in terms of how competitive this year it's been, it's not as competitive as usual. I think Arsenal win it. But apart from that, from second place to 13th, it's there for the taking for anyone.
So you expect United to finish in the top 4, James? You're 7th at the moment. Yeah.
Oh, of course I do. Of course I do. And just quickly before I go, Simon, what is your problem with managers, by the way? What is your problem with managers?
In what way?
So you sit there and say managers can come out and berate or say what they want in terms of from the media. But let's be clear. You're paying these guys £5-6 million a year. Have you ever been in a, in terms of your own businesses, and you've been in terms of high executive places? You put a camera and a microphone in front of any of those guys, and they'll tell you how they feel about their employees. I've been in those environments, but they haven't got the luxury of actually being annoyed with something that happens within the business and walking out the building, someone sticking a microphone in front of them and say, "How do you feel about this person?" So naturally, a manager's going to say that, but at the same time, owners do the same. Birmingham City owners came in and absolutely got rid of John Eustace. He'd moved his whole family to Birmingham and so on and so forth. They came and didn't fancy him because they wanted Rooney.
Is there a question in my near future? Because you're observing on your opinion about the things I don't like about managers. I think managers have every right to air their views to the people that they work for. If a manager's players went out and criticised the manager in the media, the manager would go berserk. So I don't think it's appropriate for managers, irrespective of how much they're paid. You don't need me to be here, do you? You can just tell me what I think.
No, the players do it all the time. But Simon, you go on and say all the time, managers can't even.
Well, then, do you want to hear my answer, or do you want to just tell me what you don't like about what I've said?
I've heard your answer.
So then you don't need me here for the conversation, do you?
No. Your answer is constantly that they've got egos. They shouldn't be doing this. It's. But then when owners do it, I don't hear you chastising owners like.
But I don't see owners doing it. Owners fire people and then pay them.
No, they don't always pay them. Look at Watford. Watford managers don't get paid off.
Because their contracts are weighted in such a way. Seeing as you're such an expert in hiring and firing managers and how managers' contracts work, Watford managers take a job with a contract that details what they can and can't get.
Yeah,
if an owner fires somebody in football, more often than not, they have to pay them.
James, you've taken us into the area of Birmingham City and now Watford. We'll leave it at that. But James, thanks for the call. So many more of you trying to get through, and we'll take your calls the other side of 11 o'clock this Monday morning.
Sports Update, powered by the Nissan Van Range. Commercial vehicles that go the distance for your business. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van Centre.
With the headlines at 2 minutes past 11, I'm Nick Ellaby. Good morning. Michael Carrick's emerged as the front-runner to take over at Man United till the end of the season. So why is Solskjaer fallen out of favour?
He had his sights set on the permanent job, and I think that made a few in the boardroom uneasy because they do see this very much as an interim appointment until the end of the season when they hope that one of those big-name managers who are available, Thomas Tuchel, Mauricio Pochettino, Oliver Glasner, Carlo Ancelotti even, would be tempted to take the job.
Our chief football correspondent Alex Crook suggests bringing in another interim gives the board an excuse not to spend money in this window. Meanwhile, we're hearing Spurs midfielder Rodrigo Bentancur's out for 3 months with that hamstring injury. It means Tottenham are likely to move for a midfielder this January. We understand Lucas Paquetá is open to leaving West Ham. He's keen on a return to Flamengo in Brazil. Nuno Espirito Santo wants Paquetá to stay. All the latest at talksport.com. Following one of the biggest upsets of all time, Macclesfield captain Paul Dawson's told us he knew Palace were beatable during a pre-match chat about the pitch with Mark Gay.
Pitch all right for you, said. No, not a bit of me, this. That moment I thought, you know what, there's something here for us. So, yeah, it was, I went back in, told the lads, and, yeah, we was up for it.
He wants Liverpool in the fourth round. The draw's live on talkSPORT around 6:30 this evening. Liverpool versus Barnsley follows that. Now, save of the season from Hearts' Craig Gordon, or was it better than that?
You could get carried away, and I'm getting carried away, but it's a kind of similar to one to Banks' header from Jorginho, you know, I mean, which is one of the greatest saves we've seen of all time. It's similar, opposite side. He goes down and plucks out with his left hand.
It was Pele's header in 70, but the point stands. Ali McCoy says the 43-year-old Gordon could make Scotland's World Cup squad at this rate. His save keeps Hearts 3 points clear at the top of the Premiership.
talkSPORT News.
London's mayor says people complaining about crime rates in the capital are peddling untruths, and a major incident's been declared in the southeast as 30,000 homes experience water shortages. More from the news team at past.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. Rain or shine, our mobile tyre fitting service comes to you, so you can stay on the sofa this winter. Book today at quickfit.com. Conditions apply.
Sunshine and showers for most of us. Parts of the northwest seeing more persistent rain. Across the north it's windy with coastal gales. Feeling milder everywhere.
Good morning, everybody. 5 minutes past 11 o'clock this Monday morning. Monday, January the 12th. It's Jim White, Simon Jordan and Martin Keown, and we are live on talkSPORT. Mr. Keown had a bit of a dust-up on the train in from Oxford this morning, but it all gets sorted out. Arsenal invincible Martin Keown did not chuck the challenge.
Didn't react, Jim.
You didn't react?
I understand now a little bit more about why these players do react, and we saw some Spurs players maybe getting a bit too emotional, but we want to see a bit of passion, don't we?
We're going to come to that, actually, Martin. I'm glad you've mentioned that. It's Thomas Frank's debut for Spurs this season fizzling out into nothing. Mid-January, out the Carabao Cup, out of the FA Cup, 11th in the Champions League and 14th in the Premier League. We'll get to Spurs. A lot more United fans are calling at this time, and it would be remiss of me not to take some of those calls. 03717 223344. Where are you at, Manchester United fans, with the season as it is? You knew you were out the Carabao Cup. You were more or less humiliated by Grimsby. Now you know you're out the FA Cup, put out on your own turf by Brighton yesterday. Now it's all about finishing as high as you can in the Premier League. But is this season pretty much a write-off? And would be Michael Carrick, would he be a step up on Ole Gunnar Solskjaer when the hierarchy come to appointing an interim to replace the interim? That's where we're at. 03717 223344. Lee, good morning. Big Manchester United fan. What on earth is going on at your club?
Oh, Jim, what indeed. Right, I'm just going to say a few things. I'll leave Mr. Keown until the end because we normally have our little banter at the end. So, Simon is probably the only person this morning that has absolutely talked sense. And what Simon has said about United and where we are and what they've done with the managers over the last few years is spot on, Simon. You're talking a lot of sense. We are where we are, should be. I'm actually glad we lost. And I've been supporting United for 45 years, since 1972. So before all these people get on board and say, how can a United fan be glad we lost? Because it would paper over the cracks. Imagine we went on and we won the trophy. Everybody would say United's back. We're going to win the championship. We're going to do this, that and the other. We're not. I've watched them all season. We are where we are. I'm disappointed that Amorim got sacked because I actually saw sparks. Whilst I didn't agree with his systems and I wanted him to be a bit more flexible. But we are where we are. Mr. Keown talks about these players like Sancho and Garnacho and Rashford, and I would challenge him. Would you sign them for Arsenal? Would you?
I didn't say Garnacho, by the way. If you were listening properly.
Oh, okay. Well, would you have Sancho at Arsenal?
Probably not, but I admire the way Amorim is getting a tune out of him at Villa. And he went to Dortmund. He went to the point. The point I was making, Lee, was that the managers, other managers, are able to take your players and turn them into something. Look at Rashford.
Yeah. Okay. Look at Rashford. Where's he playing? He's playing in the Spanish league. I've watched Rashford for years. He's lazy. He tracks back.
He lost his way at Manchester United. He was tracking back yesterday.
No, once Rashford loses his speed, people talk him about a world beater. He's not a world class player. He's a good player.
Yeah, but Lee, here's the thing: in January, should any season be a write-off for Manchester United in January, Lee?
I didn't expect it to this season. I'd written it off before we started. If I'm absolutely honest,
you'd written the season off before you started.
I had, because I was glad that Amorim would have a chance Monday to Friday to train and work with these players and not have the interruption of European football. And when we go out of these cups, all it's going to do is paper over the.
So when do Manchester United rejoin us all in what this is all about then, Lee, winning things? When did they rejoin us all?
I really don't know. We've got Dumb and Dumber at the helm in Wilcox and Berardi. I don't know about Berardi. That's probably a bit, but Wilcox is like Woodward. He's out of his depth, and it proved that he couldn't have a discussion with Amorim and sort it out. Amorim was so incensed, and I don't know what went on, but you can't come out and say the guy's got 3 years here and then sack him just before December.
Okay, Lee, you'd written the season off before a ball was kicked. I wonder if Liam was the same. Liam, do you agree with Lee that you'd written the season off before the season even gets started? Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Liam. So where are you at with it all? Lee's written the season off. He says that's the best thing that can happen to Manchester United at this time. Have you?
No, not at all. I don't really know where to start. He did sort of touch on where my focus is the three at the top. I mean, it's very easy to get carried away. Lee and the previous caller, very, very easy to get carried away and get distracted by other things. But, I mean, you've got to look now. I personally am absolutely gutted that Amorim got sacked. By no means do I think he was perfect. And obviously we can highlight his faults. But I think over the piece, he was getting it right. And as I said, Lee touched on the fact that Wilcox and Barada, I think their ego has got in the way, and that's why Amorim was sacked. I know it's a bit of supposition. We don't really know what happened between them. But I question any kind of high-level employer who can't take a minimal amount of criticism via the media and then have a sensible conversation and make a decision what's right for Man United, not what's right for their ego or their position. I think Amorim's obviously pushed back and they've been unable to cope with it. I mean, I can't understand why you would hire a manager with a set formation and a set philosophy and then question it. And as I say, that's us guessing. That's all you've heard, that Wilcox and Amorim had this argument about formation. Who's Wilcox to question Amorim's formation? If they've done their due diligence, they've hired him in full knowledge of what he was going to bring.
Yeah.
That's an assumption. And I'd like to ask you a question. What is it about Amorim that gave you any feelings of the fact that the club was going in the right way. You were dreadful last year. You were dreadful in the European Cup competition. You were dreadful at the beginning of the season against Grimsby. And you've had a few decent results. But what is it that gives you, a year into a man's job, any feeling of confidence that he was worth keeping? I'm not suggesting managers should be fired left, right, centre indiscriminately, but there's nothing about what Amorim did in a year that could have given anybody any confidence, surely.
No, I disagree. I mean, I think well, I do and I don't disagree, Simon. I understand why that would be the perspective. I think maybe I'm wrong, and maybe Man United fans won't agree with me. But Man United are in a different place. So if you're looking at Amorim and from the point of view where you want him to compete with Arteta and Guardiola, then you can't see any shoots of resurgence. But if you were looking at Amorim as the character, the kind of guy that has the fortitude and mindset to cope with being the Manchester United manager, get rid of the dross, get the attitude in the squad right, and take a more holistic view, I think there's plenty of positives to take.
I can see your point there.
Well, Liam, Amorim's like everybody else watching from distance now. So what do you think? Would Carrick be an upgrade on Ole?
I don't know. I mean, again, sorry to get distracted, but the fact that we're in this position shows the reason I'm concerned about Manchester United. Quite clearly, this has been a knee-jerk reaction because we've had no plan. I go down to Manchester with a friend of mine in Glasgow, and I messaged him when we sacked. I said, "There's no way Fletcher's going to get results." And this, I knew they would go back to the 4-3-3 as if that was the big problem. It's so blindsided to think that was the big problem. I don't know if Carrick, what he'll do. I would be surprised if whoever goes in on an interim basis, if they get Europe. I disagree with Ian or whoever the caller was who said, I'd written this season off. I hadn't written this season off. I was looking for a cup run and just sixth. Just progression. Just sixth. Get Europe. I was supremely confident that Amorim would have finished at least sixth, had a run in the cup, got rid of the dross, the people with the poor attitude, regardless of what, Simon.
Too late for that now, though, Liam, because Amorim, as you know, is well gone. Leon, where are you at? Finish this for me. What's left for you this season?
To be fair with you, lads, I'm going to say with the previous caller that I started this league and this current campaign thinking, if we can just get into Europe, I'll be happy. I wasn't realistically thinking we'd win an FA Cup, maybe get a little bit further in. But as soon as you start getting to the semis, quarters, coming up against the Arsenal and Manchester United, coming up against the City, coming up against whoever, the top guns that are in it, I wouldn't have wanted to risk my players in those matches and then have to play on the following week to try and gain points to get into those European places. I'm quite happy we're out of the league, the cups. I've backed my team all the way every time. Realistically, I'm quite happy that we're out of all competitions and we can just concentrate on trying to get into some European places. Champions League might be a bit of a stretch. I'd settle for Europa. Of course, I want to be in the Champions League, but I would settle for Europa League. I think that would just get us a few more players that might help us in the long run.
Right.
Yeah, being realistic, there's no way that I started this league even a month or 2 months into it. Thinking,
and Leon, just before you leave us, has it really come to this? An interim replacing an interim?
I think it's the only thing that makes sense. I mean, what are we going to do? We're going to get somebody in that possibly do the job as well as maybe waiting until the end of the summer and possibly getting someone else. There's no point rushing it. All we've got to do for now is play into the top sort of 5 or 6. And for most Manchester United fans, I think they'll be happy. And then go again next year. I think trying to appoint someone now on the rush is not going to be good for Man United in the long run. Yes, it might give us success now in terms of getting into Europe, but I don't think in the long run it's going to help us.
Leon, thank you very much for the call. They're in a pickle, Simon.
Well, they're in a pickle judged by previous standards and the expectation we have of Man United. In reality, I think I picked Man United to finish 6th this year. And that's where I think they'll finish. Now, that will get them into the European Conference League, won't it? That's where they get in as a result of that. If they get 5th, I think they'll have done well. Now, they won't have done well by Man United standards, but Man United standards and their history and what Alex Ferguson did 12 years ago is irrelevant now. It's about the here and now, not dealing with the idea that you've got to have somebody that's got the DNA of the football club. Alex Ferguson didn't have the DNA of the football club when he arrived from Aberdeen. Alex Ferguson had a different DNA, and he acclimatised himself to Man United. It took 4 years to win something. It was a different time in football's financial landscape, so that the expectations of managers were slightly different. So with all that in mind, I think if Man United finished 6th, the problem is they've got knocked out of the League Cup by Grimsby, which was a disgrace in the manner which they turned up in that game. We've got a manager who couldn't even look at them taking penalties. I mean, I don't know what these managers are these days. And you get knocked out of the FA Cup by a decent Brighton side. So the season looks like a car crash, but if they finish 6th, I actually think United are on the rebuild.
Do you know? I know
we've
we've listened to we've had 4 callers come in, and it's not exactly a cross section of what all Man United fans think. Papering over the cracks, I'm hearing. Actually, Liam sounded like a sensible, well balanced individual, but his argument's flawed. He's talking about changing cultures, and he understood it. He wanted to get behind Amorim, but they weren't getting a good enough results. This manager's win percentage is one of the lowest in their history. Yeah. So look, this was a time and place where Manchester United fans were ready to give him too long in the job. I don't believe he was ever the right man for the job. And then the last call there again, it's too accepting of the situation. I can't believe what I'm hearing from Manchester United fans. Where are the real Man United fans out there who really care about their team and want to get back to where they once were?
Okay. Next up for Manchester United. Oh yeah, City, Saturday, 12:30, live in talkSPORT.
transfer window update on talkSPORT with Intuit QuickBooks. Tackle your self-assessment with Intuit QuickBooks. Search QuickBooks to find out more.
No better time to get an update in the current transfer window, and no better person to give us that update than my colleague Alex Crook. Alex, good morning to you. Manchester United out the FA Cup, now an interim for the interim. Where are we at? Good morning.
Good morning, Ineos, breaking all kinds of the wrong records once again. First time in over 100 years that United will only play 40 games this season. That's a byproduct of the fact they're already out of both domestic cup competitions. The earliest they've gone out of both the League Cup and the FA Cup since 1981-82. I wasn't even born the last time that happened. So Sir Jim Ratcliffe continues to deliver and hit new lows, really. But yeah, Michael Carrick very much now in the box seat in terms of taking over for the rest of the season. When we were speaking around about this time last week in the wake of Ruben Amorim's departure, we thought Ole Gunnar Solskjaer would be the man they would turn to. I'm told actually some members of the hierarchy felt a little bit uneasy that his camp were maybe a little bit too talkative in the middle of last week when it looked like he would get the job. And also maybe they were put off by the fact that Ollie made it quite clear that if he did well, he would want to be under consideration for the permanent job at the end of the season, when, of course, United are hoping to bring in a bigger name, a Carlo Ancelotti, a Thomas Tuchel, a Mauricio Pochettino, or an Oliver Glasner, perhaps. I find this baffling. Manchester United's players, having just been dumped out the FA Cup, they won't train again until Wednesday. They've got 2 days off now, despite the fact they've got a Manchester derby live on talkSPORT on Saturday. That does buy the hierarchy a little bit of time to get this Carrick deal over the line in terms of the terms of his contract and who might come in with him in the backroom team. Darren Fletcher, I'm told, may well stay on as part of that backroom team. But surely the new man's going to want to get to work as soon as possible. Surely they should be training tomorrow at least.
That's a fair point, isn't it? Simon, Martin?
Yeah, it feels very strange in the modern day game with recoveries, massage, diet, you name it. I mean, sometimes you need to clear your mind, and we shouldn't underestimate that. But I would have thought that Darren would have wanted them in so he could get the message across. He doesn't know who's coming in yet. Or does he? Maybe he does know. So he's just said, look, do you know what? I'm not in charge anymore. Take 2 days off. So again, I think it's poor leadership. I think they should be in doing something.
I mean, you would think United fans listening this morning, Simon, would think Alex touched on something there. Why are they not in today?
No idea.
Why are they not in this morning?
No idea. No idea who's made that decision and why that decision's been made and what the thinking behind it is. And now, no doubt, when someone will ask somebody, when they're next doing a press conference, we might find some more insight and there might be some rhyme and reason behind it.
Okay. Alex, we'll keep across it. What am I hearing about Lucas Paquetá, whatever, however you want to pronounce it, out of West Ham, maybe heading to Brazil? Is this on?
Yes, not for the first time. Lucas Paquetá seems a little bit unsettled at the London Stadium. Wasn't part of the matchday squad. I commentated the game yesterday as West Ham made hard work of it, but ultimately beat QPR of the Championship 2-1 to at least book their place in the fourth round. I thought there were some positive signs, actually, particularly with Pablo and Castellanos, who got his goal, putting themselves around up front. But you're right, Flamengo in Brazil showing interest in Paquetá. From what I'm told, he would be open to that move, maybe more so than even joining the likes of Tottenham and Aston Villa, who've shown interest in the past. But I'm also told Nuno Espirito Santo wants to keep Paquetá at least until the end of the season. So it's going to be intriguing to see if the manager gets his way or if we're going to be talking about a high-profile departure from that part of London.
I don't know about you guys, but when I look at it and I think of everything that Paquetá has been through and what his presence at the football club has led in terms of headlines, I'm not sure what West Ham have got in Paquetá, Simon.
Well, they've got a decent player, haven't they? A player that once upon a time Manchester City allegedly wanted to sign. I mean, whether we subscribe to the view that he was exonerated or whether we subscribe to the view that there wasn't enough evidence to prove the case, and a case that went on for quite some time and jeopardised the player's career, I'm assuming there'll be some sort of compensation claim being launched by the player to get himself back into a position, given the fact he was brought in front of such spurious charges.
Is he not the icing on the cake type player, Jim? When you watch West Ham play now, they just don't have enough of the ball for a player like that to be creative. I was at the Forest match. It was massively disappointing. I mean, it's a difficult place to go to, full stop. And I understand the fans, but they're not got. There's the dross that's been served up. Forest were way better than West Ham. West Ham scored a goal and then just sat back in the match. Paquetá is not. It's not the club for him. It seems very depressing for him. I think he's somebody who's a very emotional character.
But West Ham's not the club for him.
I don't believe it is right at this point. They need someone who's going to get in there and scrap for them. As I say, he's the icing on the cake. It'd be like watching Fernandes play for West Ham. I don't think he'd be any different than Manchester United player. I think he'd struggle there.
Alex, we're going to talk Spurs in more detail later, but ins and outs for Thomas Frank. What have you got for us?
Well, I think he needs all the help he can get, Jim, doesn't he, after another demoralising defeat in the FA Cup for them at the weekend. Their season, much like Manchester United's, effectively feels over before we get to the midway point in January. And more bad news on the injury front. Rodrigo Bentancur in need of surgery. He's going to miss probably the next 3 months of the season. You'd have thought Tottenham now will look to bring in a midfielder. There has been a little bit of talk about Conor Gallagher, who seems to get linked with Spurs every transfer window, never really ends up there. I think Villa, the more likely destination for him, and you can understand that if he's going to come back from Atletico Madrid, why not go and play for Unai Emery? Villa's still competing on 3 fronts, obviously in a good position in the Premier League to maybe challenge for the title, and if not, cement themselves in the top 4. They're the favourites for the Europa League, and it was a good win for them in the FA Cup at the weekend. But he does need some bodies in, Thomas Frank. Again, there were ugly scenes, weren't there, involving the Tottenham players at the end of that Villa game. I don't know if you've touched on this, but I mentioned this on Friday. I was at Bournemouth last midweek, and the Tottenham players got themselves involved in some verbals with the supporters. You've seen João Paulinho come squaring up to Ollie Watkins after the full-time whistle on Saturday. It's all optics to me, Martin. It's all very well to turn that on for the cameras once the full-time whistle's blown. Why aren't they showing the same fight for their manager during matches?
Alex, it's easy for you to sit, in that ivory tower of yours up in the commentary box. This is emotion. These are players who care, and you can get it wrong.
Do they care? When they finished 17th last season. Well, when you hardly win a game.
When you're at boiling point, and sometimes you go over the line, and you misbehave. If they just all walked off and it was all happy days, I'd be more concerned. But they obviously need to keep a lid on that. You saw the Paulinho reaction. There was goading there from Villa players. I think Thomas Frank's in a difficult situation trying to manage this because he wants some fire in their bellies, but he needs to keep a lid on it. I don't like players coming out, by the way, Spurs players coming out, Romero, and having a go at the football club about people that are just hiding behind the scenes and not really speaking up. I don't think there's any need for that, and that should be addressed, and I think Thomas Frank will. But on the pitch, I want to see some fight.
I suppose it does show a bit of fight, Alex, doesn't it? But maybe it's too little too late.
It's a bit of fight after the whistle is blown. I didn't understand why they got involved in a spat with the supporters at Bournemouth last week. That never ends particularly well. And I agree with Simon. Christian Romero can say what he wants on social media. He's got to look himself in the mirror and ask if his performances have been good enough.
You'll go to your grave believing with Simon. I believe. Look, it's one of those things where these Spurs players are trying to show. I thought they had a good reaction yesterday. They showed some fight. They were way better than they were in the first half. And if it spills over, then so be it. But they're only going to do that. They're only going to get that club back to where it feels it needs to be by showing some kahunas. As Troy Deeney would say, get out there and put your foot in, and occasionally you get it wrong. Look, the reason it spilled over, Morgan Rogers got wrapped, didn't he, by Paulinho. There was a really big tackle on him. He gets booked for it. 1 or 2 people thought, do you know, it was a good old-fashioned challenge. And okay, at the end, he wanted to address that. No problem with that either. I don't think the Villa players went too far with it. It's just what we want to see in our game.
But that's great, Martin. But what also I think Alex is alluding to is the nonsense that comes out of these players' mouths. It's all well and good showing some fight after the event, and I take your point of view, you want to see some spirit, but we don't want to see Pedro Porro wagging his finger at fans. We don't want to see Mickey van der Ven getting his 2 pennies involved with fans because you're getting criticised and you don't like it. Correct. And we don't want to see Romero coming out and saying what he said. None of that is constructive.
No,
None
Romero's
of that.
completely out of order.
To that,
but that's where Thomas Frank needs to manage, doesn't he? He needs to jump in.
We're going to come back to that. It's 11:30. That was all thanks to Intuit QuickBooks. Search QuickBooks and you can find out more.
Transfer window update on talkSPORT with Intuit QuickBooks. Tackle your self-assessment with Intuit QuickBooks. Search QuickBooks to find out more.
We're expecting Man United to make a call on their new interim manager today. Michael Carrick has emerged as favourite over Solskjaer, and Man United correspondent at The Sun, Sam Luckhurst, says Amorim's unexpected falling out with director Jason Wilcox led to the club going for another former player as caretaker.
Which is a concept that I think quite a lot of United supporters don't care for. They're not supportive of it. They feel as though the hierarchy are probably the ones to blame.
Macclesfield captain Paul Dawson has told us a pre-match chat with Mark Gahey gave him faith that Palace were beatable.
Pitch all right for you, said, no, not a bit of me, this. That moment on, I thought, you know what, there's something here for us. So, yeah, it was, I went back in, told the lads, and, yeah, we was up for it.
Well, the non-leaguers will find out their fourth-round opponents later. Now, save of the season from Hearts' Craig Gordon, or was it better than that?
You could get carried away, and I'm getting carried away, but it's a kind of similar to one to Banks' header from Jorginho, you know, I mean, which is one of the greatest saves we've seen of all time. It's similar, opposite side. He goes down and plucks out with his left hand. It's an absolutely tremendous save.
Ali McCoy says the 43-year-old Gordon could well make Scotland's World Cup squad. Hearts hung on for the win at Dundee to stay 3 points clear at the top of the Scottish Premiership.
It's showtime on talkSPORT with BetMGM. We're ready for the action. Are you? Visit betmgm.co.uk or download the app. 18+. GambleAware.org.
Matt Gibson joins us from BetMGM. We're going to look at some of the sporting events, the odds round and about them. And of course, Matt, we should start with the FA Cup. What do you make of it?
Yeah, morning, fellas. A mixture of kind of business as usual for a few clubs with a little bit of cup magic. So everything you probably want from a third round of the FA Cup. I watched the game on Friday night, lads, and I thought it was a real belter down at Wrexham. The draw was 13-5 real time. Wrexham coming through on penalties. Wrexham just quietly are on a bit of a run in the champ as well. I think the 9th, the 4 wins on the spin. 13-4 for the top 6 in the champ in the league might not be a bad shout, but they are in the hat for the next round. And of course, I'm sure we've done it. You boys have done it to death with Simon in the studio. But Macclesfield were a hell of a price, 21-2 to beat Palace. That double, the draw and Macclesfield win was about 42-1. We didn't have any customers on it, but a living proof that the magic of the cup is alive and well.
Absolutely. Actually, on that, Matt, this morning, Macclesfield captain Paul Dawson joined the boys on breakfast, joined Jeff and Ali. And this was intriguing because he explained how they knew, I know it's easy after the event, how they knew they had Palace beaten before kickoff.
All the boys were confident. We went in definitely thinking we could win the game. Before the game, obviously the two captains, so me and Mark Gahey and Franny Jeffers did it. Normally it's a gaffer with me, and their assistant did it. And Franny turned around to him, Mark, and he goes, "Pitch all right for you?" He said, "No, not a bit of me, this." That moment on, I thought, you know what, there's something here for us. So, yeah, I went back in, told the lads, and, yeah, we was up for it.
I mean, from that, Martin, Paul Dawson saying one or two of the pals, but Mark Gahey didn't really fancy it.
Yeah, and in true sort of FA Cup fashion, you know, when the favourites or to win the game just lower their level a little bit, and it's a chance of a lifetime for the lower league player, isn't it? Do you know, you think those opportunities to get in there and what you say matters. It made for the team talk and gave them what they needed. And
Did you ever walk onto any pitch, Martin, not fancying it?
No, that didn't happen. I do remember actually years ago when Arsene Wenger said to me, we're playing against Oxford United at Highbury, you're not playing in this game because, I want to give you a rest. And I said, no, you can't do that. I need to play in this game because I can't walk the streets of Oxford if we get knocked out in this game. So the boss played me, and it was a really difficult game. We nearly went out. And I remember having to sort of drag people around the pitch because you think, okay, this comes, team from the even a team from the Championship, you think, yeah, we can do this. We haven't really got to be at the level. But if they start winning the fight, winning the battle, and their fans take over the ground, as you see all these FA Cup moments, it's quite remarkable to see. But this is the best one of all time, Jim. Yeah. This is the best one we've ever seen.
After that, did you walk the streets of Oxford with your head held?
I virtually knew everybody in the stand.
Yes.
I looked in the stand and I thought, okay, I won't be able to take this.
Do you take much out of what Paul Dawson is saying, Simon?
Of all the players, I would think that was least associated with Martin Keown. He might have been asked the question if he liked the 4G pitch. I don't like that, which I imagine most Premier League footballers would have said. When Macclesfield get pumped in the next round, then they'll have their moment now.
Jim, this
spoiling their moment, is it?
Jim, these players they don't even play. They're part-time, these guys, aren't they? I'm not listening to him.
It's unbelievable. When Macclesfield get pumped in the next round, honest to God, Matt, what we got. Matt, I tell you what we've got. Live in talkSPORT tonight, Liverpool-Barnsley. What are you thinking there?
Yeah, Barnsley are actually a bigger price than Macclesfield tonight, fellas. They're a massive price at 16 for good reason as well. Liverpool, I think, are 13 in 14 of their last third round FA Cup ties. I was going to come to Martin and ask what Liverpool should be doing team wise. I spoke to a couple of fans in the office this morning. Liverpool fans kind of think the ship has sailed in the Premier League. The Champions League is too strong. They're not in the Carabao Cup. This is their last real swing at a trophy. So the fans I spoke to this morning, they want to see a loaded side and Liverpool go out and win well. Arne Slot come out and said, I can guarantee that you see the players that played against Arsenal on Thursday night, they'll be there in some capacity on Monday. For me, fellas, Liverpool's last swing at a trophy, they've got to go out and they've got to win. They've got to win well and have a real tilt at this thing, haven't they?
What do you think, Mike?
Well, last swing, they're still in the Champions League, aren't they?
They are.
They've got Marseille coming up.
Are they not? Is the Champions League not too strong for Martin?
Well, just look at PSG. Look at PSG before Christmas last year. They weren't particularly doing well. They got their act together. This is 10 games now at Liverpool. No one's going to discount them. I thought they did really well against Arsenal. At times, they were the better team. So there's still a good team here. They will go to work tonight. I think it'd be a nice game for them, confidence-wise, to get back amongst the goals. They've got no striker available right now, which is a problem, ironically. But no, I see Liverpool just sweep through this particular game, and the FA Cup is one they'll definitely be feeling they can win.
Have you got much money on Barnsley coming in there, Matt?
Well, maybe after Macclesfield, maybe the fans who are going to get thumped in the next round are probably having a little bit on Barnsley, because they are, like I said, they're a bigger price than Macclesfield. They were a bigger price than Wrexham. Hey, why not? It might be worth £2 for some optimistic.
What would the odds be for a big scoreline, Liverpool Barnsley? I spoke to someone this morning on the train, by the way, Jim, and he had 10-1. He got 10-1. Man City win against Exeter at the weekend. Well, I don't know what the odds were for that, but what's the odds of a big scoreline, Liverpool?
I'd call him a liar first and foremost, Martin. I don't think many people will be back in 10-1. I mean, we've got 8-1 at 90-1 this evening, Martin. If that tickles you at all, but I don't think surely not many people back the 10-1, lads. Really?
How dare you question this guy? Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, you should buy a lottery ticket tonight then, and it'll be.
Yeah. He does it every game, he reckons. Every FA Cup round, he puts a big wad on a high scoreline for the big teams.
I tell you what, Matt. Let's have you take us to Scotland, because at the top of the Scottish Premiership, Hearts on 47 points, Rangers on 44 points, Martin O'Neill and Celtic on 41 points. What are you thinking?
I've got to say, lads, I've never massively been interested in football north of the wall until this season, really.
It's a dreadful thing to say.
Obviously, we've got Sean Martin kicking every ball for Celtic. We've still got Celtic as favourites, not odds on, by the way, which has got to be the first time in a while that price has been that way around. Celtic 5-4 for the division, like you said, Jim. 6 points behind Hearts, 3 losses in their last 5-6 games. Rangers done 5 on the spin. Hearts going pretty well. Hearts we've got at second favourite 7-4. Rangers at 5-2. Martin O'Neill back at the wheel again. Wilfred Nancy inherited a team from Martin, I think they were level on points with Hearts and 9 points ahead of Rangers plus a game in hand. I think that managerial experiment was a real mess, but the bookies are certainly saying Martin O'Neill in charge of Celtic, formidable force. They can reverse the form. Like I said, they are 6 points behind, but they've got an inferior goal difference. So it might even be like 7 points behind, really. But we certainly think that Celtic will.
Matt, I won't ask you because your disinterest you've just shown in Scottish football, but I'm going to ask Jim. Do you think that Rangers can go and win it this year?
Of course they do.
Can Hearts sustain this? Have won the last couple of games?
Of course
just
they
by
can.
the odd goal.
And can Martin O'Neill and Celtic win it? Of course they can. That's what makes it intriguing. They're all in it.
But who's going to win it?
They're all in. God,
come on! I need a better answer.
Stick a pin in it. What would be fabulous would be if Hearts win it.
Absolutely.
And get in between the two of them and say, "How'd you like that?"
I think they're.
How'd you like that? And then Tony Bloom gets together with Derek McInnes and the rest of them, and they say, "Right, how are we going to go again?" Because that's what you really want up there. We want to see Hearts do it.
Well, the interesting thing is the tragedy of all this is that we've had more focus on Scottish football this year than we've ever had because the two big clubs are in disarray, and all of that is actually not. The focus should be on Hearts, not what's happening at Rangers and Celtic, because Hearts are the ones that are leading the league. But all the focus is on Celtic and Rangers because of the background noise that they've created for years and years in the Premier League, and quite rightly so.
Yeah, I mean, my memory goes back. Matt's probably too young to remember, but when Souness went to Rangers, all the big name English players went to Rangers. And everybody was thinking, it's changed now. Butcher, Woods, Roberts, Haitley, Walters.
I can hear Hearts fans now saying, what are you putting pressure on us? But I just thought the last 2 games made hard work of beating Dundee away at the weekend, Jim. So
we'll see. January 25th. Let's see how Martin gets on against Hearts.
Yes, yeah. Good shout, Simon. Matt, thank you very much indeed for that, and thank you for your lack of interest in the Scottish scene until now. Visit betmgm.co.uk or download the app. 18 plus, be gamble aware, detarg.
It's showtime on talkSPORT with BetMGM. Keep things golden with responsible play at betmgm.co.uk. 18 plus, gambleaware.org.
It's a telly show as well as a radio show. We're live in talkSPORT, but we're also live on Samsung, LG Fire, Apple, Chromecast, Android, Google TV, even Prime Video. We're coming to you live on your box this morning. Wherever you want to watch the show, we are there for you. Many of you are doing that. Coming up to 10 to 12 this Monday lunchtime. The morning, what's left of it, we may as well look ahead to a big one on Wednesday. The Carabao Cup, of course it is. Semi-final first leg, live in talkSPORT. Chelsea against Arsenal. What are we going to get in this one? Because Chelsea now with Liam Rosenior. Or Rosenior. What is it? Rosenior. That'll do me. Liam made his bow, if you like, in the technical area for Chelsea at the weekend. Off and running a 5-1 win over Charlton in the FA Cup. And now it's all about the Carabao Cup semi-final against Martin Keown's Arsenal this Wednesday. Before we get to that, what about Liam? Taking over the Chelsea job. And before the game against Charlton at the weekend, was somewhat doubtful, with all due respect to Liam, that his CV merited him getting the Chelsea job. But he pushed back in that.
I just said you don't limit your ambitions. I'm not arrogant. I'm good at what I do. I'm good at what I do. And in every job that I've worked, whether it was as an interim, as an assistant, as a head coach or a manager, whatever you want to call it, relative to the group I've worked with, I've been successful. So for me, I've always wanted to be at a club like this. But it's not about just being here. It's about being successful. So this is the beginning for me. You know, I'm going to give it everything. I'm not guaranteed. Nobody can guarantee wins. Nobody can guarantee success. But at the same time, I've worked very, very hard for a long time to try and put myself in a position where I can be successful.
That's all right, Simon, isn't it? No, listen, I'm good at what I do.
Nothing wrong with that at all. Sensible, pragmatic, relative to the players that he's worked with, in line with what he's actually achieved. It's interesting. Questioning him, did anyone question Ruud Gullit when he took over Chelsea? What was his management credentials to manage Chelsea? Or Glenn Hoddle coming out of Swindon? It's about timing, because Chelsea have obviously morphed into a club now that's under Roman Abramovich's tenure. Listen, I like Liam. That doesn't mean he's going to be successful at Chelsea. Of course, there's no, on the basis of what Chelsea have been over the last 20 years, there's no indication that anybody would have given Liam Rosenior a job based upon his credentials of managing Hull and Strasbourg. But the difference in this situation, much to the consternation of the Strasbourg fans, is Chelsea have been looking at this manager for 17 months. They've been watching him. He's been in a situation where they can see him firsthand. They know what they're taking. They're not taking him on his resume. They're taking him on the fact that he's done relatively well in all the jobs he's done, but they've had a very close, beady eye on the development of this young manager and believe that maybe with a young squad that's maturing season upon season, and a young manager that can mature with the ownership as the ownership starts to refine its visions, that they can build in harmony. That's what they perhaps tried to do with Maresca when they gave him an opportunity.
So do you think we'll get a better idea of what Liam is about, and he'll get a better idea of what he's landed in on Wednesday against Europe?
100%. I think he carries himself well. I think he's a very confident young man, and none of that matters really how he's got the job. The important thing now is
what he does with it.
Yeah, and I do feel that he thinks he's having himself. You can tell. He's very confident. He's very
having himself.
Yeah, he is, because you have
but
to.
That suggests overconfidence.
No, not really, because you step into that role at Chelsea and you need to. He's a very tactile manager. You could see after the game, he's in everyone's ear, and I think it's that modern style. He was given his role into the game. Perhaps Wayne Rooney gave him that opportunity, and Wayne stepped back from it. Wayne wasn't really the day-to-day person, but this person was. I think he always thought one day he'd be at a top job, Jim. Some people are like this, these career path people. It's now what he does with that. And of course, I think it was a great opportunity for him against Charlton to step into the job, to find his feet a little bit. But obviously now it goes up a level, and you're going to the semi-final of the League Cup.
Yeah.
And he will think, okay, this is brilliant. He sees this as an opportunity. He's not doesn't manage with fear, this manager.
But there's no. I mean, ultimately, he's been in the door for 5 minutes. And so the team is set up. The game will go the way it does. Arsenal on paper the better side. So ultimately, if they go out against Arsenal, there's going to be no massive shame. If
it represents a great opportunity for him, doesn't it?
Yeah, to lay a claim to something that he hasn't been the architect of, because others people have got them to the semi-final of this situation. Look, I watched Liam when he was younger in the media, and he was one of those that seemed to have a lot to say for himself without any background, and was always not criticising, but critiquing other more experienced managers. And I thought, And then I spent some time with him when he was at Hull. And despite the fact that he is confident, he's not an arrogant kid. a kid. You're not an arrogant 41-year-old manager. He just has strong belief in himself. And if he doesn't believe in himself, who's going to believe in him? He's in front of the world's media.
Yeah.
He's got to put on a very strong front. If you get him behind the scenes, he's considered, he's respectful, he's thoughtful, he's intuitive, and I think he'll be all right.
Yeah. But it has to go well very quickly, doesn't it?
Yeah, you were working at the
club.
weekend, Martin. You were at Portsmouth Arsenal. Arsenal set pieced their way to the fourth round of the FA Cup. Has it been a redemptive few days for the villain of the piece, Gabriel Martinelli?
Do you know, just to sort of Gabriel Martinelli is one of the nicest people I've met in football, Jim. He's very courteous. He speaks to me touchline. It was when I saw what was happening, I think it was just a misinterpretation from himself. The game itself, Frimpong was on the floor 2 or 3 times. The ball was begging to be put out of play. Arsenal didn't do that. It just had this sort of tetchiness around the game, and he just misread that. He made his apology. I think an awful lot was made of it. It was great to see him get a hat-trick yesterday. 10 changes from an Arsenal point of view.
Was too much made of this? I mean, what happened? He threw the ball at the injured Conor Bradley, tried to push him off the pitch.
You can't control, when you behave like that, you can't control what people say. The thing to do is to correct it as soon as possible. And I just feel he just got wrapped up in that a little bit, misinterpreted. Like he didn't see Conor Bradley go down. And it was obviously clearly a very bad injury. I think he thought he was feigning injury and he was just trying to time waste. So he's put that right. But
it's ironic, given that Martinelli does that as a stock in trade. And Martinelli, 15 minutes earlier, was rolling around like someone shot him from platoon in the penalty area, and there was nothing wrong with him. And there is a byproduct of players.
That's your interpretation, isn't it?
Well, that's what we saw on the screen.
Well, it's your interpretation.
He was up and fine.
Why would he want to be on the deck when Arsenal are trying to win the game desperately and he's wasting time?
Because he'd made a fool of himself trying to buy a penalty and hadn't got one.
Yeah, but Mark, what do you think of Gary Neville, who said that he wasn't happy, suggesting the Liverpool players should have given him, quotes, a whack?
Well, in press conferences, managers don't answer Gary Neville's questions. I'm not going to answer them here. Why am you asking me to respond to Gary Neville?
Well, you would have given a player a whack.
I don't really give a hoot what Gary Neville says. Just trying to inflame the situation when he's got nothing else to do on the commentary position.
If you'd been,
he was bored. He was bored. It wasn't a great game.
Would you have given Martinelli
He was making
a
that
whack?
the narrative.
That's the sort of thing that you would have done, though, wasn't it?
I would have told Matt, if he's my colleague, I'd say, hey, come on, you've reacted in the wrong way there. You didn't quite understand.
But what if it's an opponent?
Well, look, you're asking.
And he'd done it to one of your players. You give him a whack.
Of course, you'd become inflamed by the situation, but we've said that he misinterpreted it wrong. He's apologised. And I think it ends there. The important thing yesterday, if we turn to yesterday, this was the lead question you asked.
Petit said on Friday you would have reacted badly had it been you.
Well, look, Manu, I'm a different man now, but maybe back then I admitted that at times I had a short fuse.
You are different. You didn't react in the train this morning. I
didn't react on the train this morning. No, I counted to 10.
Yeah.
But look, Arsenal yesterday.
Behind an old lady.
If we just talk about Portsmouth for a moment, I thought they did quite well in the opening exchanges to put Arsenal on their backsides really in the early exchanges. Arsenal were 1-0 down. They had to climb themselves out of a bit of a hole. They scored 3 goals from set pieces, which was like, okay, if I'm working for Portsmouth, there's another bright young manager. Go and sort out your set pieces. Because there's a massive Achilles heel there. You can talk as much as you want and you can have all your systems, but if you don't do things right from set piece, you go out of the competition. It's pretty well why they went out yesterday.
What was that last week though, Martin? The 0-0 Arsenal-Liverpool. Was that a point gained or 2 points
I think
lost?
it was in the end. I thought Liverpool were very clever in stifling Arsenal. Without a striker, Arsenal couldn't really go and press them because they were dropping midfield players, front players into midfield, had good options. And in the end, I think Arsenal will take that point. It keeps them 6 points clear, but obviously City will have seen that as a good result for them.
Okay, Britain's got a new world champion in the world of boxing. 12 noon, we'll look at that in the final hour today.
talkSPORT update powered by the Nissan van range, helping business owners to work better and live better. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van Centre.
With your headlines at 12, I'm Nick Ellaby. Good afternoon. We're told Michael Carrick is the front-runner to become Man United's new interim boss, as the club's hierarchy were put off by Solskjaer wanting the job full-time. Our chief football correspondent is Alex Crook.
I find this baffling. Manchester United's players, having just been dumped out the FA Cup, they won't train again until Wednesday. They've got 2 days off now, despite the fact they've got a Manchester derby live on talkSPORT on Saturday. That does buy the hierarchy a little bit of time to get this Carrick deal over the line.
We understand outgoing interim Darren Fletcher could stay on as an assistant at Old Trafford. Meanwhile, we're hearing Spurs midfielder Rodrigo Bentancur is out for 3 months with a hamstring injury. It means Tottenham are likely to move for a midfielder in this window. We're told Lucas Paquetá is open to leaving West Ham. He's keen on a return to Flamengo in Brazil. Nuno wants Paquetá to stay. Macclesfield captain Paul Dawson's told us they knew Palace were beatable when Mark Gay said he didn't fancy playing on their pitch. We asked Dawson who the non-league giant killers want in the FA Cup's 4th round.
Well, we beat the holders, so we can beat anyone now.
Great, mate.
Probably Liverpool away, I think. Probably Liverpool away. We've got a lot of Scousers in the team, so they'd love that as well, I think.
Well, the 4th round draw is live on talkSPORT Drive this evening. That last remaining game, Liverpool versus Barnsley, follows that. And Eddie Howe says at this current moment he's not supportive of a new League Cup rule allowing players to represent 2 clubs in the same season. Antoine Semenyo featured Bournemouth in their 2nd round defeat to Brentford. Semenyo could also line up for Man City against Newcastle, live on talkSPORT tomorrow night.
talkSPORT News.
Media regulator Ofcom's now launching a formal investigation into X's AI tool Grok, and another Tory's defected to Reform UK. More from the news team at past.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit, where we've got more premium tyres than the number of times you'll hear, "Ooh, it's a bit nippy this winter." Book today at quickfit.com.
Mix of sunshine and showers, most of us. Parts of the northwest seeing more persistent rain. Across the north it's windy with coastal gales and feeling milder everywhere.
Good afternoon, everybody. 5 minutes past 12 noon. It's Jim White, it's Simon Jordan, and it's Martin Keown, and we are live on talkSPORT, coming to you live, of course, on your TV as well, even Prime Video, wherever you want to watch the show, you can. We are waiting for you right here in the studio on the 17th floor of the news building here at London Bridge. A lot to get through in the final hour. Tottenham Hotspur, what is going on there with Thomas Frank at the helm? I like Thomas Frank, but where is the club going? What is left of their season for Tottenham Hotspur and their fans? And up in Scotland, even though Matt Gibson isn't particularly interested, we very much are. And of course, we're keeping a very close watch on the destiny of the Scottish Premiership title. Who's it going to be? Is it going to be Martin O'Neill Celtic? Is it going to be the front runners Hearts, or is it going to be Danny Rose Rangers? We'll look at that very shortly. But there was only one winner in New York at the weekend, and that was Britain's Dalton Smith. He stopped Subriel Matthias in the 5th round to claim the WBC light welterweight world title. It was a phenomenal performance from Dalton Smith. We'll speak to the voice of boxing, Adam Smith, in just 1 second. But this was Dalton after he did what many thought was virtually impossible.
There is no words, just a lifelong dream of hard work, sacrifice, and it was all for this moment. You know, the journey we've been on, my dad, granddad, whole family, my nephew here, like I said, it was just all worth it, and I always knew, I always believed. So there's a message to anyone: if you believe in yourself, go out and chase your dreams.
Absolutely brilliant. Dalton joins heavyweight Fabio Wardley, welterweight Lewis Crocker, super featherweight Jazza Dickens, and featherweight Nick Ball as one of the UK's 5 current male world champions. Adam Smith, what about your namesake Dalton? How did he do for you?
I was so impressed, Jim, Simon, Martin. Good to be on the show. It's fantastic. First of all, it couldn't happen to a nicer guy. What a hard-working, honest, dedicated professional. He's done everything. I first met him in the amateurs. He won those belts. Then he went into domestic level, up to Commonwealth, European. And look, he went away from home, always difficult. on an away show, enemy territory. We all thought he had a good chance, possibly of outboxing Subriel Matthias over the distance. But what he did to take the fight to him, to go toe-to-toe in a terrific war, and to get the better of him in 5 rounds is one of the great wins on American soil for a British fighter. And as I said, he was 18-0 going into it. He did everything right. The foundations were there. He works other fighters' corners. He's always around ringside. He lives and breathes the sport. Honestly, Jim, I could not be happier for him.
Brilliant, Adam. I mean, Simon, not a lot of people gave him a lot of hope going into this.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, there was the educated betting was that there was a pretty it was just a pick and fight. And the question I had, and Spencer felt that perhaps Matthias would get him done on points. My question was, does he have the power to be able to get this guy out of it? Because I don't think he gets a points victory, albeit Kell Brook managed to achieve it in America, but and obviously Lloyd Hannigan knocked out Donald Curry all those years ago, which I went to. But the performance that he put on, and he had to dig deep. First round, brilliant. Second, third, and fourth rounds, Matthias came on strong and gave him a handful of trouble, and people were suggesting he was fighting the wrong fight. But the knockout was a great few shots, and I'm delighted for Dalton because his father's brilliant, he's brilliant. You look at the emotions after when you see sportsmen and predominantly boxers. We saw it with Lewis Crocker, and we've seen it now with Dalton Smith achieving dreams, and you see the euphoria and the absolute meaning of it in a sport that has so much jeopardy involved in it. I'm delighted for him, well deserved, and the fact that the guy. I'm sorry, but the guy shouldn't have even been in the ring in the first place. He's failed a drugs test.
You see, that's a good point, Simon. The fight was controversial in itself, as you know, Adam. Matthias tested positive for a banned substance, Ostarine, in the VADA out-of-competition test in November, with a B sample also returning an adverse finding. I'm glad it didn't go ahead because Dalton won it, but should it have?
Well, that's a big question. And the fact is that Dalton Smith's whole preparation was jeopardized by that. Simon uses the word jeopardy in boxing all the time. There's so many unpredictable twists and turns. The fight was allowed to go on. So not just for Subriel Matthias' sake, but also for Dalton Smith's. Think about it. What he's thinking about in there, what he's going to the fight. It's his world title opportunity against a guy who had failed something and then is allowed to fight. So I think a lot of mental strength, psychological strength was shown by Team Smith. But I think he's got that, Jim, over the years of what he's done in the sport. He's done it the hard way, the proper way, the established way. It reminds me of likes of Clinton Woods, who left no stone unturned getting to that world title. He earned that number one mandatory position. He earned that opportunity. Eddie didn't manage to get it in Britain, so he had to go to America. And I think, Simon mentions the Lloyd Hannigan, Don Curry, which was extraordinary because Don Curry was pound for pound king at the time. Subriel Matthias isn't, but let's not rain on the parade. This is one of the great wins away from home. Tyson Fury's second win over Deontay Wilder. Kell Brook, obviously, against Sean Porter. John H. Tracy in Jose Napoles back in the day in Mexico City. A great win in New York. And Dalton Smith can come back here, be an established world champion in Britain. Adam Azim, of course, the arch rival, fights at the end of the month. And that's the story that's going to captivate this year and next year. If we can get those two in the ring, we've got another massive rivalry in boxing.
I mean, Adam, we know that the New York State Athletic Commission ruled the concentration detected was below the threshold used by major boxing jurisdictions. That's by the by, isn't it? Should boxing not have a zero tolerance approach when it comes to doping?
I believe that there should be a zero tolerance approach to drugs. It's a tough enough sport. It's the hardest sport. It's the hardest business. And of course, we don't want drugs in boxing. The problem, as we know, as Simon knows, as you know, is that there are so many different governing bodies, different commissions, and one in New York. Look what happened. If you can fight in Florida, you might be able to fight here, there. And the British board, we're just fortunate to have the British board here, who I think are the best in the world. And we're lucky, but it is difficult and it does make things really, really hard, especially for the fighters. The fighters that, if they get tested positive, should they ever fight again? Should they, was it an accident? Was it a problem? Was it one of their team members? You'd never really get to the bottom of it. This was allowed to go on, and all you can deal with is that. Dalton Smith gets his opportunity. So does Subriel Matthias to fight for the world title in New York on Saturday night. And Dalton Smith beat him at his own game. That is a terrific performance with everything that's been going on around this. And he deserves all the plaudits in the world. I was in Germany with Agit Kabayel at the weekend. Atmosphere off the charts, Jim. Boxing's in a great place, and Dalton Smith is a brilliant world champion for this country.
Superb. Eddie Hearn, Adam, has talked about a homecoming fight at Hillsborough, and you mentioned Adam Azim. British fans would love to see that. How likely is it?
I read a big piece on it in the Ring magazine. It's something that Adam wants. It's something that Dalton wants. So with different promoters, different TVs, it's the old story. Maybe we need a Turki Al Sheikh to come in and put some magic on it and make it happen. We need to see this fight. Both fighters want to do it. They've got different styles. Dalton is, of course, ahead. He's older. He's the world champion. Adam's got an IBO belt. He also is undefeated. And he's back on the BBC at the end of the month. So this is just the melting pot. Both of them need to have this fight. I think Adam probably wins a world title this year, and then the two world champions meet. Whether it's Hillsborough, whether it's down south, doesn't really matter. I think we could have 3 fights between those two. I think they're going to have an absolutely fantastic rivalry, and they're both great guys.
Adam, brilliant. Thank you so much. Adam Smith with us. Is that the one you want to see, Simon?
I do, but I'd like to see Adam Azim win a world title so that they're going in as on an equal footing. I think he can get the IBF by beating Richardson Hitchens, but ultimately he's got to be match made into that situation. But yeah, I do want to see Adam Azim versus Dalton Smith. Obviously, it's been a one that's brewing, and they've sort of Dalton and his gang have ridiculed Adam for not wanting to take this fight because Adam's not at the level with Dalton yet. He's 2 year, 3 years behind him. This year, I think you'll see that gap close. Dalton's got his world title. If Adam can go and get one, he's perfectly capable of it. Then you've got 2 British fighters fighting for 2 of the belts, or having 2 belts on display, and that's a great fight.
Great stuff. Dalton Smith, 5th round winner in New York at the weekend. Brilliant stuff. We're with you live this lunchtime, courtesy of Selco, where the trade goes. We were talking earlier about what's left for Manchester United this season. What's left for Tottenham Hotspur, and their fans, and their manager, Thomas Frank? Where are we now? January the 12th, out of the Carabao Cup, out of the FA Cup, 11th in the Champions League, 14th in the Premier League. Spurs were knocked out of the FA Cup, 2-1 defeat at home to Aston Villa. The cup exit followed the midweek defeat at Bournemouth, with Van de Ven and Palhinha exchanging words with Spurs fans. Romero taking to social media with that infamous lies post after the match, seemingly directed at the board. And then at the weekend there, a full-time melee was sparked when Spurs midfielder Palhinha again took issue with Ollie Watkins' celebrations. Thomas Frank was saying afterwards, no, that's all right, actually.
Of course, it's all about keeping a cool head. The players gave everything out there. Losing, tight game. The season's not going perfect, and I think Ollie is very provoking in the way he's going down to celebrate in front of the Villa fans, and he's walking into shout. He can just easily walk around, and I think everyone who's been a competitive nature, that's difficult. That can trick things. You need to play with passion, and when you play with passion, then sometimes you play to the line. And sometimes a little bit borderline. So I see players with big passion. They want to do very well for the club, and I think that's very important. And of course, you also need cool heads.
Passion, sometimes borderline passion, Martin. Is that music to your ears? Was that you in your day? I mean, would you get involved in that kind of thing at the weekend?
Well, you need to be at boiling point to win anything. You just don't want to simmer over the levels that you need, and that's just where he is right now. I think he's managing this as best he can. And I just think when you look at a body of work, you look at a football club, a reflection of the manager. When you look at Brentford now, and you see, I know that Keith Andrews is taken over, but he's taken over the really good work that his former manager was put in place, Thomas Frank. And I'm pretty certain that at Spurs, given time, he will get this right. Now, the fans are booing, they're not happy. Of course, they're losing too many games at home, and that has to be put right. He has to find a way to win. You can't, you're only going to get so much time. But I assume Thomas Frank, what I've seen from him with the right kind of players, Jim, in the building, he's trying to change a culture that runs right through that football club. It doesn't happen an overnight change. But I expect, obviously, he wants to improve, to go out of an FA Cup in the way they did. But they did show some personality, some character in that second half.
What culture has he inherited?
Well, look, I know they win a trophy, but probably the first trophy they've won in many years. But I don't know how many real winners have been in the building collectively, where they've had enough winners in the building. Look, Harry Kane decided to take the exit door, and he can't stop winning since he left. So it's about getting the right people in the building, get back on the right road. And I do feel with this manager, they will do that. But there's going to be a lot of suffering and pain between now and then. The Spurs fan, though, isn't ready for patience. They've had enough. They want change. But I suggest that they remain patient with this manager.
I mean, Spurs fans, they're not sure of what they've got, are they, Simon?
Well, I think, on paper and based upon what he's done at Brentford, I think he's certainly worth the investment that was taken in him, which was Daniel Levy and Paratici putting together some thinking and bringing him into the building. Where where the jeopardy, I think, for Thomas Frank is, there's a section of the Spurs fan base that aren't happy. I speak to Spurs fans. Jay, who drives me, is an absolute rabid Spurs fan, spends his time with Spurs fans all the time and tells me that they're behind the manager and behind the players. There's a few dissenting voices, but as a whole, the fans are going to boo. If you lose a game at home, they're going to boo. not necessarily just the manager, they're going to boo. Losing to Aston Villa at home in the FA Cup is not a major crime. They've still got the Champions League. They're 11th in the Champions League. They've got Eintracht Frankfurt and Borussia Dortmund. They're going to get into at least the playoff stages of the Champions League. So they've got that to look forward to. And Thomas Frank has taken over a legacy, which Martin alludes to, which is a legacy of Brentford, was a good legacy, and Keith Andrews gets the benefit from it. The legacy that he inherited from Ange Postecoglou was visited on Nottingham Forest, was visited on the back end of Tottenham, which was to win a competition where Bodo Glimt were your semi-final opponents, and an absolutely turgid Man United, one of the worst cup finals you'll see in some time, and they won a trophy for that. Fantastic. It, got a monkey off their back. I think the Frank is worth the investment of giving him some more time. I'm not sure that the incumbent management that are detached from the football club and have not run it for 25 years, despite making observations about how Daniel ran it, and they were probably actually controlling what Daniel did financially, are going to give him that latitude. We'll see.
Does it expose him that Daniel Levy has now left?
I think he's very exposed with both Paratici and Daniel Levy leaving. I think he's on his own. I think he's. Listen, as a manager, you've got to stand up, be on your own anyway. But you know as well as I do, managers are supported. Managers aren't just on their own. They do have it when in moments of crisis. Often boards or certainly owners will stand beside their manager privately and give them support. I'm not sure he's going to get that.
And it seems to me, though, Simon, we're hearing Tottenham Hotspur fans doing a lot of booing, a lot of jeering, not happy with what they see. This perceived lack of sporting ambition. Thomas Frank was asked about that. What does he think?
I think that's impossible in Tottenham. I think personally didn't come to this club just to finish 14th or 10th or 8th or 6th or 4th, 3rd or 2nd. We want to build something that can be very successful all the time. I'm very aware where we are right now in the moment. I think it's fair to say that not many are.
You see, the Tottenham Hotspur fans are well aware of it. Just over 6 years ago, Tottenham were in a Champions League final. Villa were playing in the Championship.
Yeah.
So it's roles reversed now, isn't it?
Sure.
And Tottenham want to know, the fans want to know, well, why? How come this has happened?
They got to a Champions League final, didn't turn up in that final.
They still got there.
But they got, absolutely. And they will make the claim and lay the claim that Daniel Levy didn't support Mauricio Pochettino, and subsequently, as a result of it, everything declined from there. Look, Tottenham have spent money, and we've heard, forget what Daniel Levy's done. Look at what this new ownership model are telling you they're going to do. They've told you that they didn't like what had gone before, and they wanted to see more trophies, and they want to see more silverware, and they're going to support it, albeit they were the controlling influence behind the finances. But so let's look at it now. They've spent 200 million on transfers in the summer. So that's a meaningful step, because if you're going to try and beat the competition, you've got to at least match them with quality. I don't know what they've done so far in this January transfer window besides sell Brennan Johnson. And so one of the players that they bought 18 months ago, they've now sold to Crystal Palace.
They will we assume buy, though, won't we?
That will be an indicator of how much faith they have in Thomas Frank, because clearly they need more resources.
Well, numerically, I mean, Bentancur is now out for.
That's my point. If they don't back him,
I think I've seen improvements in Simons has done really well recently. And I didn't really like him at the start. I saw him at PSV. Gagpo was the player that Liverpool took from there. I saw him a few years ago and I thought, not really sure. But he's impressed me in recent games. Solanke's coming back from injury is good news.
Eventually, yeah.
Richarlison out injured again is the fact that they've played 4 games in 10 days.
That's all very well, but I've got a rough idea where Simon will go with this. But the fans aren't happy. The Tottenham Hotspur Supporters Fan Trust actually got in front of some of the senior representatives of the board before the match, and they've accused the club of this dramatic fall in ambition. And I know, Simon, you'll probably come back at me, but the trust accuses the players of directly confronting fans who are exercising their right to express themselves. And they are not happy. I mean, we reiterated to the club that we believe club leadership should address these issues publicly and through direct communication with the fans.
Okay. Why is that then?
But why shouldn't they get a meeting? And the hierarchy granted them that meeting, so they got a bunch of things off their chest.
And that's fine. But you can't, I mean, the fans can't tell the management team how they want to operate with their players. If I want to discipline my player in public, I'll discipline him in public. If I want to discipline him in private, I'll discipline him in private. What you want to see is not being repeated. What you want to see is Romero never doing what he did the other day again. And that's a management style, and that's up to the management. It's not up to the fans that dictate to the board how they discipline their players or their management. That can't be the case. I mean, surely that's a sense of entitlement.
The fans are giving their perception of what they're seeing at the moment.
It's a perception.
At the moment, the fans tell the board, we do not see much of a direction. The club's going in the right direction at this moment.
Well, I would have thought the first thing that they saw was £200 million worth of transfer spend in the summer. Right?
So why aren't they winning more?
Well, because it takes time to get a team going in the right direction. This is a team that stank the league out last year, that people were talking about getting relegated.
Do you recognise any fallen ambition as far as Tottenham Hotspur?
Well, I recognise some hypocrisy from the current ownership in terms of what they alluded to with Daniel Levy. I recognise that.
Do you feel Thomas has to be stronger, tougher, to kind of like hit back on the behaviour of some of the players? When you start calling out Porro fighting with the fans a little bit, I think it only gets worse for you. Like you don't want to see that. And I think if I'm managing that football club, I'm saying, guys, cut that out.
Well, he will be, won't he?
Cut that out. What, will he, though? But I think publicly he needs to be saying that as well. I'm not hearing him say that.
Yeah, but I mean, how many times do we see? First and foremost, what he needs to say it to his players. And needs to make sure his players understand it.
Saying that
if he wants to play to the gallery, now of course there's a lot made of the fact that when he walked off the field, Jed Spence and Mickey van der Ven give him with a high hat when he tried to acknowledge them. All that walking on the field stuff evades. Why that happens, I don't know anyway. But the fact is that I don't think Thomas Frank is a flake. I think he'll do things his own way, and he won't do things the way other people think he should do them. Now, he's got to get some control over the dressing room in terms of some of the things that are seemingly controversies. And of course, once upon a time, last year, it was a couple of years ago, people couldn't defend set pieces, and Ange Postecoglou turned around and said, "I don't worry about set pieces." So every time there was a corner came in, the camera went onto the goalkeeper.
It's becoming a bit of a theme at the end of the games. It looks like a bit of ill discipline. Okay, I don't mind, that passion. But it's kind of like, I think what we need to be saying, if we're in on the inside, come on, guys, let's get off the pitch.
We've got to take each one of these.
Yeah, but Simon, you said when Graham Potter stepped up to Chelsea, you thought it was a flake.
I did.
You don't think Thomas Frank
stepping
up to Tottenham Hotspur is a flake?
I don't think he's whining like Graham Potter did. I don't think he's going into press conferences where people said nasty things to him and starting talking about death threats.
So that's your definition of a flake, someone that whines.
A little bit, yeah, because I think you've got to get on with things in life. I think you've got to make decisions and live or die by them. I don't think you've got to go explain yourself to the media every single time, go in front of them. Deal with your players. If you see it repeat itself, each one of these instances might be slightly different. Romero's got form for this. He was allowed to get ahead of himself 2 or 3 years ago where he thought he was better than the club. And then he got pulled back in because the club started to punch it a little bit harder and higher up its weight. And he got reminded of the fact that he ain't that great a player. He's a good player, but not that great. And in this instance, Pedro Porro, his ridiculous assertions about what he will and won't tolerate. Now, if Thomas Frank is coming into an environment where the expectation is Levy's been gotten rid of, because don't forget, Daniel Levy was all the problem. Everything that Tottenham didn't have was Daniel Levy. It was all to do with Daniel Levy, no one to do with anyone else. Now, Daniel Levy's gone now, and you've still got players that are not performing at a level that people would expect them to perform at. But I think you've got to give Thomas Frank a little bit more time.
How long did Daniel Levy have? 22 years?
Yeah.
I think that was long enough.
Well, I think Daniel Levy built a spaceship. I don't think anyone's built a football club the same way that Daniel
I think the interesting thing is
on the field needed to be better.
What I've taken out of that is Thomas Frank is basically saying that the fans don't have a reasonable expectation of where we are right now, of where we're probably going to finish. And I think, what were they, 32, 33 defeats between Manchester United and Spurs going into that final last year for a place in the Champions League? That was that sort of catapult him. It's a false position. So he's got to build, and he needs to be given time. And as I said it when he was given the job, he is the right man for the job. It's just the Spurs fans, it's just not sexy enough, is it? They want somebody else who's really more... They tried all that. I think he's the right man for the job, and just stick with it.
The only question is whether Spurs is too big a club for Thomas Frank. I don't think it is. Okay. I think he's got to be given a little bit of latitude.
Winning on a regular basis would help, though, wouldn't it? 12:30.
expecting Man United to make a call on their new interim manager today. Michael Carrick has emerged as favourite over Solskjaer, and Man United correspondent at The Sun, Sam Luckhurst, says Amorim's unexpected falling out with director Jason Wilcox led to the club going for another former player as caretaker.
Which is a concept that I think quite a lot of United supporters don't care for. They're not supportive of it. They feel as though the hierarchy are probably the ones to blame.
Macclesfield captain Paul Dawson has told us a pre-match chat with Mark Gahey gave him faith that Palace were beatable.
Pitch all right for you, said. No, not a bit of me, this. That moment I thought, you know what, there's something here for us. So, yeah, it was, I went back in, told the lads, and, yeah, we was up for it.
Well, the non-leaguers will find out their fourth-round opponents later. Now, save of the season from Hearts' Craig Gordon, or was it better than that?
You could get carried away, and I'm getting carried away, but it's a kind of similar to one to Banks's header from Jorginho, you know, I mean, which is one of the greatest saves we've seen of all time. It's similar, opposite side. He goes down and plucks out with his left hand. It's an absolutely tremendous save.
Ali McCoy says the 43-year-old Gordon could well make Scotland's World Cup squad. Hearts hung on for the win at Dundee to stay 3 points clear at the top of the Scottish Premiership.
Super Bowl 60 on talkSPORT.
Yep, our latest competition has landed, and it's your chance to be at the greatest show on earth, the Super Bowl, on Sunday, February the 8th, as well as a pair of tickets for you and your mate. We're chucking in return flights to San Francisco, 3 nights accommodation, and spending money. Listen up, here's how you can do it. For your chance to win, text WIN to 83338. Text costs £2.50 plus your standard network rates, or call 03434187260. Lines closed 22nd of January at 4 o'clock. And that's when you have to answer your phone if it rings. 18 plus UK residents only. It's a network promotion. Full terms and conditions apply at talksport.com. So for your chance to win, text WIN to 83338 right now. Well, now, from San Francisco, let's turn our attention to the situation in Scotland, because all of a sudden this has got mightily interesting, has it not? Rangers went to Aberdeen just yesterday and won, and now Danny Rowe's side are right in the thick of it. They're on 44 points, in between Hearts, who lead the way on 47, and Martin O'Neill's Celtic, who are on 41. But Celtic and Hearts have a game in hand on Rangers. So, my goodness, it's really anybody's at this stage. Martin's got off to a flyer again in his second interim spell in charge of Celtic. A winning start for him. They beat Dundee United by 4-1, and Mr. O'Neill was quite happy.
There'll be plenty more turmoil between now and then at the end of the season. It's nice. We've got a big game on Wednesday, so the lads are off tomorrow, ready for Monday now. Don't get carried away. I thought we played really well. Somebody told me we like 32 passes in the build-up to the first goal, but we still have to score it, you know. And while we had things that were flying across the box and we had a bit of pressure, you know, you still have to break them down. And so Yang, who's having a really good time of it at the minute, it was nice to score.
You know, Simon, when you look at it, they're 6 points behind Hearts at the moment.
Yep.
If the Celtic board had thought long and hard and maybe decided against bringing in Wilfred Nancy, and left Martin in charge until the end of the season, who's to say what we'd be looking at this stage?
Yes, but that was my view, wasn't it, at the time? I didn't see the points. Now, if they were quite far down the journey with Wilfred Nancy, and they really had they'd really got an agreement with him, and Martin was really just holding the fort for that period of time, because the agreement had already been signed and he couldn't get in. That wasn't the case. They were still deliberating, from what I understand. So to me, it made no sense. But they must have been sold something with Wilfried Nancy that they saw a vision in, and the vision has proven to be an apparition of not particularly high order for them. Martin, did you? I expected Celtic to win on the weekend.
Yeah,
I fully expected it.
Yeah.
This was a side that beat Celtic 3 weeks ago, 2-1. In the first half, Celtic were good in that game against Dundee, but in the second half capitulated and lost 2-1. They've now gone and beaten 4-0. I fully expect and demand of Martin O'Neill that he wins this league. Anything else
it must have been
unacceptable
for the players. Who had that new manager coming in, and what did he lose? 6 out of 8 games, and then obviously Martin's coming back through the door. It must have been a breath of fresh air. They played by the looks of things with a great deal of confidence. Jim, 22 shots, 8 on target, 72% possession. And obviously, there's just felt that they were back again, played in a different system. We talk about, don't we? We've seen that with Manchester United. We talk about Manchester United and their system all morning. There's a manager who just goes, put 4 back in, 4-3-3 system, tried and trusted formation. But he gives belief to his players, Jim, and they just perform in a completely different way. They beat a team that they lost to 2-1 recently, turned that around, and one assumes that they're going to continue. They have made it more difficult for themselves.
January 25th, he's playing Hearts. Right, he managed to avoid that fixture first time.
Got a lot of games between now and then.
Skated off without that fixture because it was given to Wilfried Nancy.
Yeah.
And ultimately he lost. He didn't get the outcomes in those games that you wanted. So Martin will be benchmarking himself. He's just a sensible manager. He's 73 years of age. He knows how to manage Celtic. He knows how to make the best of the players he's got there. He wants to supplement the playing squad. You've heard him say it. And so with that in mind, the players are culpable for the performances they put in for the manager. They shouldn't get away with it, but they will. But Martin will go in there and do a really sensible job, and I wouldn't be surprised, tragically, that Celtic win the league. Not tragically because I don't want them to win the league, not tragically because I don't want Martin O'Neill to win it, but I want Hearts to win it.
We see Hearts keep digging themselves out of trouble, though, because they had the goalkeeper sent off at the weekend up at Dundee, and then in came Craig Gordon, who pulled off a stoppage time wonder save to maintain Hearts' lead at the top. We'll get to that. But all the while, Rangers are nibbling away there as well. And Danny Rowe has overseen 11 wins, 2 draws and 1 defeat in his 13 league matches. And Rowe spoke to Sam Friday.
I try to give them the confidence. I try to give them clear pictures. And then you're growing together, and then you have some signals. I think for me it was clear after the Bergen game that I have to take responsibility, even I'm just 2 days there. I think it was important for the fans, but also for my player. I'm brave enough to take this. And now it's about make the next step together. And I think in the last couple of weeks, for example, the defeat after Hearts, it hurts us. That was still a moment again where some thought, we are really good or not good. I think this is about consistently, and if you do this, then I think the people here recognize the good work.
I think Rangers have landed upon somebody here, Martin. Danny Rowe very much is fitting the bill now.
Yeah, 5 good wins. Looking like the real deal. Beating Celtic would have been a big, really good for their confidence. They just got to keep maintaining it.
Yeah.
Arguably, I take the sentiment of Simon that he, to change Scottish football, it'd be nice to see somebody else win it. I'm in that camp. The Edinburgh club, Hearts, to finally win a trophy. I can't remember how long ago it was, Jim. You'll be able to tell me as a statistician of Scottish football. But it'd be quite remarkable if they were able to pull it off. But I just see that they're looking over their shoulder a little bit. Lost 3-2 recently, 2 1-0 wins. And Rangers, as I say, going on this really quite formidable run right now. So, but I think Celtic, and I know Simon's talking about the Hearts game as well. It's interesting. Celtic will play Hearts again later in the season, and Hearts
25th.
Yeah. So all these games, they play each other 3 times, of course.
That's the story. The story is Hearts winning. This is a rod on to me. Agreeing with what you're saying, Simon, about Martin being back. But believe it, Jim, I'm so happy again that he is back because they are beginning to fire again. But Hearts is a story.
Of course,
and they've found it within
Of course
themselves
it
to
is.
dig out a result at the weekend and win with 10
Yeah,
men.
of course it is.
And that tells me a lot.
I mean, unfortunately, I think that they may just get caught by Celtic all the way. I mean, listen, first and foremost, Rangers made a good appointment in Danny Roll. There was lots of reservations about it. People were underwhelmed. The feeling that I got from players that have played from Josh Windass, that have played from Sheffield Wednesday, thought this guy had the chops to go up there, and they've stabilised it, and they're doing what Rangers should be doing. Let's be clear. Rangers should be beating these sides, and that's what they should be doing, and they should be doing what they're doing now by winning game week in, week out. Celtic the same. But they're both clubs got themselves into a mess. Both clubs got themselves into a mess of decision making. They lost it. They got rid of their chief executive and their director of football. Neither one of them I had particular regard for. Didn't think they were up to the job, and it proved to be that they needed to replace them. Celtic seemed to make a very strange decision with Wilfred Nancy. It's very easy to be destructive and constantly criticise and sit in the studio and say this isn't going to work, because as we've said previously, if you get it wrong, then the team are winning, nobody cares. And if you're right, you were right. In this instance, I couldn't see why Wilfred Nancy got the job. I couldn't see the common sense in what he was doing when he got the job there, because Martin O'Neill, it's not a light switch. It might look like a light switch, but it's not a light switch. It's just common sense.
Yeah.
You don't spend 15 minutes with Martin O'Neill when you come into a new building. That tells you something about the ideologue he might be. You spend 2 hours with a guy that's managed a team for 5 weeks that's won 8 out of 9 games. That's what you do. You suck as much information as you possibly can. You get the lay of the land, and then you pivot and you change and you finesse and you evolve. You don't start a revolution and then lose 6 out of 8 games and get yourself the sack. In comes Martin O'Neill, turns on the same light switch.
Yeah.
He's great, but he doesn't walk on water.
Sure. We'll see if he walks in water against Falkirk at Falkirk on Wednesday. That's Celtic's game in hand. Hearts, meantime, their game in hand's against St Mirren on Wednesday on the same night. Thereafter, we'll really know where we are with the Scottish Premiership. It's Jim White, Simon Jordan and Martin Keown, live in talkSPORT with Selco, where the trade goes. So the England cricketers have been to Australia and we know what happened there. And now there's to be an ECB review into the Ashes tour following the 4-1 defeat to the Aussies. The review we hear will cover tour planning and preparation, individual performance and behaviour. And England are considering a player curfew, we hear, when the team leaves for the tour to Sri Lanka this week. So it doesn't really stop, does it? But what's going on? What actually went on out in Australia? Because we heard all sorts of things, did we not? The England head coach, Brendan McCullum, is satisfied his team do not have a drinking problem and don't do things to excess. But it was revealed that white ball captain Harry Brook had been struck by a nightclub bouncer when he was refused entry to a venue in Wellington because he was drunk. Ben Duckett was filmed apparently drunk and disorientated after a night out. So where's it all going and what is this ECB review going to produce? Double Ashes winner with England, Steve Harmison, is with us. Steve, what is going on? Because it seems like disarray all over the place.
Yeah, they're lost. Simple as that. They're lost. How they've lost everything that they went into that series, the preparation that everybody's talked about not being right. Is there a drinking culture? Is it an English society thing? I'll stick up for the players in somewhere where you go, they spend an awful lot of time away from home, spend an awful lot of time in hotel rooms. Is that right or is that wrong? No, I'm not defending them for that. Some people like to have a social beer to, relax
that
in between.
Again, Steve. So but then when it goes too far,
you
and
have
social media and fans not happy that England were trailing in the series.
Goes too far, you have to be reprimanded.
When those images appeared on social media.
If you go too far, you get reprimanded. Harry Brook got fined. It was the day before, or actually it was the day he was captain in England, and rightly so, he got fined. He openly admitted it. He's put his hands up. He's apologised. It's about actions from there. Now, his actions from there during the Ashes, I think it had possibly had an effect on him when it was overhanging, and why that didn't come out a little bit earlier. I think, in the management point of view, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. When you want to bring that news out that we have fined our vice captain, we have fined our white ball captain, we fined one of our best players in the middle of an Ashes series. I think try to keep that in house, and obviously it hasn't worked. Touring life is very, very difficult.
I get that, but do you think a curfew is the answer?
No, curfews are never the answer. Curfews are never ever the answer, because then you're taking away the trust of players. The minute you start curfewing, then you're basically saying, as a management group, we don't trust you.
Well, should they be trusted?
Well, that's a different argument. But for me,
well, that's the argument, isn't it?
Well, the argument from English cricket fans' point of view is that they've seen their team get walloped 4-1, haven't been prepared on the field, ready for that first battle-hardened Test match, and now stories have come when they're in New Zealand that they were on a bit of a jolly. Now they should get hold of the coals for that if they've been wrong. Now that's where this review is going to look at it. Now I probably see one, possibly two incidents that have been described that has gone excess and too far. That was the Harry Brook one. The Ben Duckett one, yeah, he didn't look in a great state. The Noosa trip, I didn't really have too much of an issue with the Noosa trip, because there was a lot of time between that second and third Test match, and I think the problem you had is when Rob Key said he didn't see there was another. There wasn't another problem during that, because we didn't know that. That's the problem. We're losing.
It looks as if they're almost celebrating defeat, doesn't it?
Yeah, but look, it's a privilege to represent your country, isn't it? And around Arsene Wenger, it was like a zero tolerance to alcohol. He probably expected people to have a drink here and there. But if it's become a culture, we need to change it. We need to change it, because look, there are other ways to enjoy yourself. You can celebrate when you win, but I think it's the visual of England getting trumped like they were and then having a drink. But, it always looks to me in cricket as if they're having a better time than the footballers. I don't know whether that's the case.
But on the thing of that is, Martin, you, as a footballer, you spend 300 nights in your own bedroom. We as cricketers spend...
But I think that's wrong, Steve. I think every 2 or 3 days now, you're in a hotel. But you're packing a bag for one trip to go to the next.
Australia. So in Australia, the England cricket team, when I've been in Australia, yes, they're getting beat. They're getting hammered, right? But England's cricket team in Australia will be probably, their allocation will be about 50 bedrooms in a 350 bedroom hotel where the other 250 bedrooms, 300 bedrooms will be all England supporters, all England fans. There's no release, no way of getting of it. I'm not defending them.
I mean, I remember Francis Edmonds writing a book about...
Their wives go at Christmas.
Right, so they've got their families with them.
At Christmas, yeah.
Right.
I don't know how they do it. When I watch it, I don't know. To be that long away from family members, that structure around you is a difficult gig.
So when you get 2 days off, the last thing you want to be doing after you've just spent 5 days on a hot cricket field, the only thing you can have is room service at night time, or they've now got a chef with them. You need to get out of you're caged animals.
But doesn't the alcohol make you worse?
It's what you want individually.
It's a quick fix, no?
Well, I'm not defending them. All I'm saying is I'm trying to come up with an argument that.
Well, maybe we need some balance.
When you go away from home, and there's 2 days, 3 days in between a test match, because the test schedule is so grueling now. What the individual needs to make the individual have a release is up to him. And give responsibility.
How did Australians conduct themselves?
I tell you what. You've got this is probably the in a nutshell. You've got Travis Head, who won the Test match in Adelaide. England did the Noosa trip, and I can guarantee Travis Head drank more between Adelaide and the next Test match than all England lot put together. He's one of the best players in the series. Nobody will say anything around that. There's not a drinking culture in Australia.
They're winning.
They're winning. That's the thing.
Yeah, but even so, I think there's too much alcohol. These are top sports people. Do you know? Like they've got. It's only 20. You can only do this for 20 years of your life.
Well, they're not 20 years. Nowhere near 20 years.
No, well, yeah, but if you're lucky, I was a pro footballer for 22 years.
I'm not defending them.
There's plenty of time for drink afterwards.
I'm not defending them. All I'm trying to say is the amount of time you spend away from home, the amount of time you spend in a hotel room, and the amount of time you keep staring at four walls. When you get a day off, and you get a release, you're going into a city where there's 20,000 English people. I'm not condoning what they do, but if you like a beer, the odd beer, I don't see the problem with them going and having the odd beer.
Yeah, but not getting plastered and being shown up for what they're doing.
Well, if you do that and you step over the line, you get fined and you get done for it. Harry Brook's been fined £30,000. Possibly could have been stripped the England captaincy, and that's as how close he has been reprimanded. The review needs to look into all things: their preparation, the way they've performed, how they look as individuals, and the sort of drinking culture. If there was a drinking culture, that will come out in the wash.
Should the review lead to McCullum's sacking?
I think the review needs to look at all aspects of how England got themselves ready for Ashes Test match. And
Are you comfortable McCullum's still in charge?
I think he's the one that's the most vulnerable, because he drives the bus. He drives the message. He's the one that sets the tone. He's the Arsene Wenger. He is the one that this team should represent. And at this moment in time, if there's a drinking culture, if there's lax, and if there is a problem, it falls on McCullum.
Steve Harmison, thank you so much. It's as if we're the examples. Everybody should be